in a second. There we go.
There we are. Hi, everybody.
A little bit late today, but we'll get over that.
Yeah. Sorry, we had technical. Well, no, we had ED issues.
This is all on time. I don't know what you're talking about.
Actually, you're not wrong. If we go right into the show, we're perfectly on time. In fact,
that's true.
Yep. So, I guess we might as well talk about the elephant in the room. I am here now. I may not be here for the rest of the show. We had a loss. Ooh. You guys talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So unfortunately, Engineer Kevin has passed. He ALS finally caught up to him, and Edie's with us now, but she might not be able to stay for obvious reasons.
See, like I said, the trigger can happen. I could be perfectly fine, and then not. So we lost Engineer Kev. He passed away very peacefully in his sleep on Wednesday. He told me his last words was what was his last words? Something like "sleep." I would like, because he was. Yes. We could only talk through a text type to text or text to speech app. So his last words were "sleep." I would like, and so I'm like, all right, you can go take a nap. And I came back in an hour later, and he was gone. So he's passed away. I'm okay. How am I doing? I'm shitty. I'm really, really shitty. There is no good way to have this, but I'm making it through. I swing everywhere between, and the house is now destroyed because, of course, I'm cleaning out closets and doing everything because I took 3 days off work. I'm going to take the next week off work to continue that. But I'm not doing great, but I'm doing. It is very much a one step at a time. If the next minute is too big, then think about the next 30 seconds and just moving forward and trying to keep with as much of the stuff that I truly love to do, the things that give me joy. My Marie Kondo spark joy. So that's why I'm here this week, is I want to be here because I know that many of you have been listening to and watching GameHounds. Oh God, I just realized I have to do this all over again for the regular podcast.
No, you don't. Just everyone has to watch the pre-show.
Yeah.
But many of you have been listening to or watching GameHounds for some of you as long as GameHounds has been around, 13 years. So you all know that were it not for Engineer Kev, none of this would exist. He was an audio engineer by trade. He did a sound for Skywalker Sound. He was the one that gave me the technical knowledge to be able to do this show. And this was 13 years ago when the technology was a lot harder than it is today. There weren't things like StreamYard where you just hit a button and go.
Yeah, that's why Edie sounds like a professional and me and Nick sound like trash.
Right, because this was my birthday present years ago. This is a very high-end mic. When I first started the podcast, he found me the best podcasting mic on the market. Like no money was no object microphone. Otherwise, you would hear what I actually sound like, and it doesn't sound very professional. But we're not for him, there wouldn't be no GameHounds. He was the engineer that made it all happen. So I wanted to be here to let you know and to be with you because many of you have known him for more than a decade. And I know that you're sad too. I mean, many of you just heard him in passing or saw him or just knew of his existence. But he's been in your life. If GameHounds has been in your life, Engineer Kev has been in your life. And I wanted to keep this going because A, you're my family that I choose, all of you. And B, because I didn't want to go 2 weeks without this show because this is a little of Kevin's DNA right here in the show. So
and we're here to keep it going. If you want to leave, like we've got control
jump in,
of this
jump
boat.
out. If you want to leave and then come back in,
I'm going to try and keep it a low crying podcast. But yes, and of course, anytime that I'm talking about gaming, I'm not crying. I might be yelling and screaming at the screen, but I'm not crying. All right. So we have done our pre-show. Anything we want to do before we start up? Because I have to do this one more time for the audio show, because I got to let the audio people know.
We can just be like, hey, go check out the first 10 minutes of the live stream, because we want you here anyways. But
just,
it's important.
Yeah, for more information, see the pre-show.
Yep.
Just
all right.
Them.
So, are we ready to start the regular podcast?
Yeah. Let's get into it.
Let's. Didn't make a description on this show?
The short one, yes.
Yeah, I saw it pop up.
Yeah, it's just a full house, but some terrible news, and
okay.
I wasn't sure what to say.
No. I don't want to do that. Edit. There we go. Got it. Perfect. So continue among yourselves. What episode of GameHounds are we on? Oh, it's 602. Thank you.
So, Nick, I saw this a couple weeks ago that you watched the Amazon movie. What was it called?
Tomorrow War?
Yeah. And
you
really liked it. And
the movie's great, and everyone else is they're fools. The world is full of fools who can't appreciate a good summer blockbuster.
Hey, Andy. Yeah, so the terrible news is that Engineer Kev has passed away on Wednesday due to complications with ALS.
Yeah, it moved super fast. Oop, that's the wrong thing. Yeah, it moved very, very quickly. Crazy fast. He first started noticing he was slurring his words sometimes, just like little bits of his words in January, and they thought maybe brain tumor, maybe stroke. And it was about March that they started to say maybe it's ALS. And then he was officially like diagnosed ALS in June. So it was a little over just a tad over a year from official diagnosis to him passing away. It was not ALS. If you're not familiar with what ALS is, it can be one of two ways. It's either inherited or it is just a spontaneous mutation of your DNA that your muscles no longer start responding to the nerve signals to move. And usually it starts with the arms and legs. And that's why people get into like wheelchairs. And then eventually it moves into the head and face and tongue, so that you can't talk, you can't chew, you can't swallow very well, or you swallow the wrong way a lot. And then eventually it gets into the diaphragm and the lungs, and the diaphragm that stops working, and then you essentially stop breathing.
AC Wraith being awesome and giving us links to what is ALS.
Thank you. What is ALS? Yeah, Kevin had the random mutation. And his started, rather than going to his arms and legs, started with his head and mouth, which had a particularly short lifespan, because of course that's where you're supposed to end. It's not where you're supposed to start, or that's where it ends, where this disease ends. So he was actually walking the morning that he passed away. He walked to the bathroom, but his breathing was getting harder and harder and harder and harder, and eventually that's what happened, is his breathing just stopped. So it is a horrible disease, takes a lot out of you. It is not a very dignified way to go, but it's it's hard to fix, because it's a syndrome for a reason. Those random genetic mutations are hard to nail down.
And a couple years ago, the ALS challenge, which was the ice bucket
The ice
challenge,
bucket challenge.
was
Oh,
going
yeah.
around, and that ended up doing some good. But there's still a lot that's not known about the disease.
Right. It ended up doing a lot of good. Actually, one of the drugs that Kevin was on was developed with funding from the ALS challenge. So you thought that the ALS challenge was just people sticking, doing nothing to just pouring buckets of ice over their heads, and it was just an internet meme. It wasn't. It actually raised quite a lot of money. And that the drug that he was on that delayed his symptoms for as long as it did was developed with the funds that came from the ALS. That was money raised by the ALS challenge. So if you supported it, if you did it, thank you. You gave me a little bit of extra time with him, and every minute was precious to me. Hey, we got Kropotkin. We've got Chris O'Regan. Hey, how are you doing?
Hey.
So anyway, I'm all set to start the show.
Okay.
We're gonna do the explanation one more time.
And then I'm gonna bitch at Nick about Tomorrow War. Don't worry, we'll do it when the show starts.
How?
All right.
How? Why?
Starting now.
Games, modern culture, and technology. And these podcasters are big fat potty mouths. If you're younger than 18 or are easily offended, please stop this podcast now. Oh, and your mom says to take out the trash and do your homework.
All right, mics are hot. Hello and welcome to GameHounds. GameHounds episode 602. This is Sunday, July 18th, 2021. I'm your host, Edie Sellers. With me is Nick DiNicola and Andrew Smith.
Hey there.
And we've already kind of made this announcement on the live stream. If you don't watch the live stream, please consider doing it. You can find it on Twitch, on Facebook, or on YouTube. So everybody who's watching on the live stream, you're going to get a double dose of the horrible news. And for you listening as a podcast on the audio or live on the audio stream, this is first time you're hearing it. So many of you know Engineer Kev was diagnosed last year with terminal illness, ALS, which is the Stephen Hawking disease, Lou Gehrig's disease. But he passed away on Wednesday, and I'm here. Andrew is running the show. This is Andrew's show. Thank you, Andrew. But I'm going to be here as long as I can. The grief comes in waves. Sometimes I'm doing fine, like I am right now. Sometimes I am not doing fine. I'm very much not doing fine at all. But we didn't have a show last week for other reasons, and I didn't want to go 2 weeks without you having a show. And I also wanted to have a show this week, even if I'm on it for a very short period of time, because were it not for Engineer Kev, there would be no GameHounds. He was the one 13 years ago that taught me how to do this, how to cut audio back when this was a pre-recorded show, that taught me how to use Pro Tools, that set me up with his expensive Pro Tools unit, which if you don't really know what Pro Tools is, that's like shooting fish with a bazooka. Pro Tools is what they use even today to edit movies. And I was using a top of the line Pro Tools unit to edit the show, which is why everybody was like, wow, your show sounds so good. I'm like, yeah, it does, because I'm using the good stuff. But he was the one that taught me everything I knew. He was the one that set up this computer and this system. He was the one that bought me, and I'm showing this mic, which was money is no object, top of the line mic. This is the same mic that Leo Laporte uses for his television broadcasts. GameHounds has been Nick and me and Goalie and Hawks and Gamer Andy and everybody. Andrew, And everybody that's ever been on the show, Commander Tim, it's all a little bit of their DNA, but underneath all of our DNA is Engineer Kevin. He was the one that lifted all of this up so that we could put our DNA in it.
The
So,
foundation of
yeah,
GameHounds.
he's the foundation. He was the rock. He was the drummer to our band that we didn't even know we didn't even realize was there, but we would have only known if he wasn't there. He was the Foley artist. That his absence would be felt, but his presence you didn't really feel on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, this show, this isn't going to be an Engineer Kev tribute show, but because it is a part of him, I wanted to ensure that we came back and did not take 2 weeks off and made sure that this show goes on. So yeah, so that's what's going on.
You can just sit back and enjoy the show as a listener. You are all guests for this show.
That's no fun.
We will yell at each other, and if you want to,
I'm totally yelling at you. I'm totally making fun of you.
Okay, that's fair. That's fine.
I just don't have to do the technical work, which is kind of nice.
Yeah,
it is a little bit of a vacation. It's a little mitzvah for me.
It's all of the fun of the conversation with none of the technical responsibility.
Exactly. And if you hear clinking ice in the audio, it's because one of the things when you are in this kind of grief, you have to hydrate a lot. You lose a lot of water when you're crying this much. So every minute that I'm not crying, I'm drinking water. So other than that, as my mother would say, other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play?
Oh,
that's that's kind of good though.
Other than that, how was your week?
It was all right. That was that's a hard thing to follow.
Yeah. Well, okay. You said you have something to say about the Tomorrow War.
Yes. Okay. So
which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Okay, so the Tomorrow War, if you don't know, is a Amazon produced and I'd like exclusive because of that movie featuring Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
So spoilers coming up. So if you don't want to hear that, I don't know when I'll be done. Me and Nick may fight about it for the next 30 minutes. Who knows?
I'm not going to let that happen. Look, you're running the show, but I'm still here. I'm still. I've got veto power.
Okay, just overall basic premise. It's a sci-fi disaster movie about a war that takes place in the future. Like humans are fighting aliens in the future. We're losing. So some soldiers come back in time and say, "Hey, we need to recruit, you past people to help us in the war in the future." And so they start recruiting people and sending them into the future to fight the aliens.
Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the plot. And Kropotkin, it's that was Edge of Tomorrow, which is or Live, Die, Repeat, which it's also known as because that's the tagline for it. That was super popular. It's
also a very good movie.
Better, in my opinion, than this. This isn't bad.
I would agree.
I would not pay to see this movie, but the fact that it's on Amazon is okay.
Ouch.
Okay, listen. It's fun. If you're ready to shut your brain off, it's pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie, Chris Pratt is very charismatic. He's a great actor. The female lead in the future.
I gotta hold on a second. I need to pause this for a second. Anybody who's ever been at PAX, tell me if this next scene doesn't that look like PAX?
Oh,
you're trying to get into PAX.
That's the cue.
Who knew that the Tomorrow War was PAX? Just trying to get in to see Jonathan Colton.
So, side note, which I'm going to dive into real quick, is I read the comments on Amazon about this movie. Surprisingly, pretty sexist and particularly racist in those comments.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
I mean, honestly, I shouldn't be surprised. I just don't know what about this movie would trigger that.
Too many people of color or women soldiers.
Wow.
Oh, fuck off.
Literally, it is.
I would
There
like
is
to see a bunch of women, people of color, soldiers come down and explain it to them at their front door.
It's pretty bad. A lot of people are like, oh, we're checking off all the marks. Half the people are people of color from the future, apparently. Like, it's bad.
Yeah, it's almost like half the people in the movie are women. Well, that's not realistic.
At the beginning, this little twig of a girl is telling all these people how to use a gun and stuff. Oh, it's not really realistic. Really pulled me out, and it was terrible, guys. It's really terrible. That a lot of people thinking this is like right-wing media at its finest, which there is no real political
I did
message.
see some reviews about that, and yeah, it strikes me as kind of a stretch of, the Chris Pratt is like the everyman suburban guy, thrust into an intergalactic war to save the day. It's like,
And
it's a white man saving the day again, and like, yeah, it is, but that's
he's a soldier,
not a
so it's not
political
like
message.
Yeah, the whole thing isn't, but like it's pretty apolitical for the most part, to be honest. Outside of apparently climate change, but that's not really a political statement, in my opinion. But because Chris Pratt is Republican and very vocal about his faith, like people are latching onto that.
No,
Like, yeah,
okay.
just weirdness with this movie. That's all. Like, that's not me saying anything about it.
It's the movie getting caught up in like culture war stuff.
Yeah, for no reason. Again, this movie has nothing to do with that. There is
So
no.
So what I really liked about this movie is I would put it on par with Independence Day as like a good alien invasion summer blockbuster.
Independence Day was a classic.
You're not
This
really
is not a
appealing to me
classic.
because I hated
See-
Independence Day.
And see, I know there are some people like you who really don't like Independence Day.
Did not like
And
it a bit.
I don't get that because I find that movie to be like the perfect what's the statue of the man? Adam? No. Michelangelo? No. Fuck. Who's the David. Independence Day is like David has a summer blockbuster. It is the quintessential perfect form of a summer blockbuster, just distilled into absolute perfection.
I actually don't think it has any great speeches.
No, it does not have any great speeches. And I will say, side note,
We don't have rhetorical questions here.
Yeah,
we
no.
answer them all.
Yeah.
Honestly.
On the 4th of July, I saw a commercial for like Bud Light, and it just had a little gag of, a former president speaks out. No, America's favorite former president speaks out, and it was Bill Paxton.
Nice. I like that. So the movie, like I said, is fun. It's roughly 2 hours. Apparently, it was supposed to be a theatrical release, but due to COVID, they sold it to Amazon to put on their streaming service.
Which I honestly think it is a shame because I would have loved to have seen this in IMAX.
It's right.
Kropotkin says, we call it Trader's Day over here in old-timey land.
I don't take issue with the fact that you liked it. It is okay. It is fun.
I will say just quick, I was reading something about Independence Day. Like the directors were like, we want to make an alien invasion movie, but fuck, Tim Burton is making a parody with Mars Attacks. We need our movie to come out first because we can't put ours out after the parody.
Right.
So they're like, I don't know, let's set it around Independence Day. That way we force the studios to put it out around then. And it's like,
really? I didn't know that.
It's like, what do we call it? I don't know. Just fucking call it Independence Day. We'll come up with something better later.
They did not.
Nope.
That is kind of genius. I actually gained a little bit of respect for that movie. That happened. That was very savvy of them.
So okay, yes.
So curmudgeon-y stuff really here is I've become kind of picky about certain things. For instance, they show these magazines for these like future weapons, and it's like a 30-round magazine. It's nothing fancy, but when they're firing, they hold down a fully auto like trigger for 10 seconds.
They fire 200 rounds.
Yes. But they make a big deal about these aliens being practically like indestructible and how they're wiping everyone out. And outside of maybe having like yeah, but like the guns they use, like they have weak points, so you can take them down with the gun. But like tanks, bombs work, fireworks, like there's a lot of stuff that does damage to them.
There is a certain degree of the Starship Trooper effect, which I love that movie. And in that movie, you have these guys with guns fighting the bugs, and it's like for 30 seconds at one of them, and it doesn't stop. And there's hundreds of them, and it's very goofy. And there's a bit of that here, but I feel like the whole weak spots thing, they kind of get around that and have. I feel like all of the direct fight scenes between people and the aliens are good because the guns allow them to put up enough of a fight that like makes you think, okay, they can get away. Like they're not just alien food. Like they can get away, they can put up a fight, but there's so many of the aliens, and they shoot these spikes that like it's a big threat. And it felt like, and Edie's put on, or someone put on Aliens.
Edie did.
Right. It's because this is a super cut of the M41A pulse rifle.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Pointed out that has apparently it's big magazines. Everything you'd ever want to know about that rifle.
One of the greatest and most least effective guns in sci-fi history.
Has an M41A ever actually killed anything? Because it's in all sci-fi movies, and it never actually shoots anything dead.
Yeah, but I felt like the
it's a bit like the Godzilla movies, where it's like they always have the tanks come out, and it's like, come on, guys.
Oh yeah.
It's been 50 years. Tanks don't work. Why? Why are you even bothering?
There was one particular scene that I want to talk about that took me way out of it for the most part. And Nick, it's halfway through the movie. And again, major spoilers here. So if you care at all, I mean, turn your head for a second.
Because I do think it's worth noting, like, the basic premise of this movie of like, oh, Chris Pratt gets drafted to fight a future war. Like, that's kind of the first arc of the movie. And then there's like a second arc where they're trying to do something different. And then a final arc where they're trying to do something different still in a completely different setting. And I really liked that it felt like this nice, grand globe-trotting adventure.
So the spoilers, towards the middle, major spoilers, they capture this queen, this female, because they need to study it. And Chris Pratt gets taken to this base, the last base that they have, and it's on the water. And they have gigantic walls, a ton of warships, some like yachts and stuff, any boats that's still seafaring. And it looks intimidating. And then they get attacked by like millions of these aliens. They're like hundreds of thousands. And they needed like 10 minutes to do something. Because the time mechanics are spinning up and it's going to send Chris back. But they needed like 10 minutes. And these aliens get over the wall into them in like 3. And to me, it was just like, what was the point of having any of these defenses at all if you could do nothing to stop them?
Haven't you seen World War Z? Walls don't work when
walls work about as well as tanks.
But yeah, like, walls don't work when you've got millions of enemies.
They have aerial drones, and they have like 3 of them. And they are killing these. They are destroying them. And it's like,
that's the whole point.
In the first place, like
that's the whole point. It's like there's just a lot of them.
Yeah, but I mean,
like I said, the Starship Trooper effect.
They also hate fire. Why not just put little like flamethrowers? Like,
wait, stop saying Starship Trooper effect, because I mean,
because it's a good movie.
Anyways, I've been hammering.
That's catching a little hate in the comment section.
Yeah, it's political satire, and like, yeah, it's goofy, but it's still a good movie.
Edge of Tomorrow, much better invasion movie than this.
Was Starship Troopers really a good movie?
Yes,
I enjoyed Starship Troopers. That's my childhood. Maybe it's
just
especially if you watch it,
because I read the book 5 years before the movie.
Especially if you watch it has basically a screed against like military industrial complex, has a parody of all that, then it's like, yeah, it absolutely works, because it's, yo, do your part for your planet, and then it's just like, all these guys sent off into the wood chipper.
I don't know. The wildest thing about that movie is seeing their props turn up like 10 years later in a Power Rangers show. That was odd.
Oh.
Yeah, there's an episode of like Power Rangers Galaxy where it starts off, and the first 2 episodes they're literally in Stormtrooper armor.
But yeah, I think like whatever nitpicky things you have about Tomorrow War, I think it absolutely succeeds as a, like I said, a summer blockbuster popcorn movie. Like it's fun
Yeah.
spectacle. The action is directed well. It's legible. There's none of that, horrible Taken 3 fast cutting stuff. It's easy to follow. The special effects are great. I think it comes up with a lot of interesting, bombastic set pieces.
I will say this: there's not as many like plot holes. When you're dealing with time travel, there's plenty of ways to make plot holes. But the way they do it is like if you don't think about it too hard, it's fine. Like as far as plot holes go.
Yeah.
The biggest one being
that's almost every time travel movie.
Oh yeah,
honestly.
The biggest one being that they needed people who'd be dead in like the next 7 years, like some amount of time. They needed people to be dead, so there's no chance of like messing up the timeline. But I don't know. It's weird. Like they should have just done anything because the whole point is to change the timeline anyways. But like the aliens, for instance. I was curious at the beginning of the movie why there was this invasive species that would grow exponentially and just kill everything. Like, that is not something a normal creature evolves to do. And that got answered. And that made me a little bit happy.
Yeah, it totally did.
No, Lucky. Anyway, we should move on to games.
Yes, we should actually talk about games.
Although I think it is worth saying, Loki's great.
I've reserved Loki specifically for this period because I knew that this was coming. Didn't think it was going to come now, but I've reserved Loki because it's going to be my distraction series.
I think it's worth noting. It's not a mini series. It's actually like a series. So there is a season 2 coming.
Good.
Yeah.
I need that. I need something completely independent and not a series that I've watched in the past. So perfect timing.
All right. 30
so you want to
in?
start talking about some games?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll go first because I only have one, and I'll just get to it. I went back to Escape from Tarkov. Like, I've played a few other things, but this has been my jam recently. I've since been given a 1080 graphics card, so I have upgraded my current hardware.
Oh, good! Congratulations!
That's awesome.
Is it what you wanted, or is it just good enough?
It's good enough. Like
okay.
it's a really good card from like 2 generations ago. It's still really good, and I can't expect to get better without paying for like $1,000 for a $300 card. So I'm good. I'm happy. That game is a masochistic adventure. It is.
Okay,
pretty
tell me
fun.
more.
Yeah, exactly. If you haven't seen Tarkov before, you have 2 modes. You can play as a PMC, which is you gear up and you go into a game with like your guns that you choose, your armor, whatever. And the goal is to kill scavs, loot, get gear, get items, and get out so that you can sell it, make money, do quests, stuff like that. If you die, you lose everything you were holding. You can ensure it so that if no one takes it after the round is over and give it a day or 2, you'll get the stuff that no one left.
Day or 2 in game or out of game?
Say it again.
A day or 2 in game of out days
or out of game, like real life days.
Oh,
so you won't see it again, and there's a chance that if someone took it, you won't ever see it again.
That's brutal.
Take this video that you're seeing right now. All this stuff this guy is holding. If he dies, he loses it all. None of that comes with him. You get a little pouch that you can take stuff out of with you if you die, or like if you bring it in, if it's still in there, it'll come with you. The only problems are 2 things. 1, a lot of the quests require you to find items in raid, and you have to get out alive with them to keep them in raid. So if you get out, if you die, and you still have them in that little pouch, it's no longer found in raid, so you just sell it. Like, it's not useful for quests. And then 2, its size depends on how much money you paid for the game. So if you get the base game, you get a little 4x4. So like some items take up 1 spaces, sometimes 2. Like it goes up and up depending on what piece of gear. If you pay the $40 version of the game, you get 4 like squares. However, if you pay $130 for the game, you'll get one that has 12. And also, outside
That
of the
seems
game,
a little skeevy.
well, outside of the game, you have a stash where you can store all of your items. That also doubles in size based on what type of game that you did. So I went and bought the 100. Friend bought me the base game a while ago, but I couldn't play it. But now that I've gotten into it, I've bought the $100 version, and you kind of need to. It's
That's disappointing.
you really need to. Gameplay's tight. It's fun.
And
It's
side
fun.
tangent. DJ
It's-
Phil Collins is correct. Neil Patrick Harris in Starship Troopers is fucking creepy.
Yeah.
He's a
little
fucking
bit.
psychic Nazi. The whole Earth government is.
DJ, I am
Terrible.
going to ban you from talking about Starship Troopers. We moved on.
Deserves a rewatch.
So yes, that's one aspect of the game. It's kind of like gambling. That's what makes it fun. You go in,
Oh,
find stuff, and then suddenly there's this tension, this need to get out. So every time you hear a gunshot, a voice, footsteps, it's suddenly like, oh my god, everything is so tense, and that's why you play this.
so like, how many people are there generally?
Oh man.
No, we're not done talking about. I'll talk about Starship Troopers.
No, stop. No.
I swear to God, as a kid, I drove my parents nuts. Like, as an early teen, I may have watched that movie like.
Oh, didn't it get cut off? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, he found its way back in.
Anyways, I did have a question about Tarkov.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, because it's PvP, and so like a lot of the tension comes from you getting out alive with this stuff. How many people are there generally per map? Like, how common is it to find someone?
So it depends on the map. There's 5 maps, each wildly different in size and like area. And depending on the map, you get a certain amount of people. For instance, the very small one called Factory can have like 5 people in it. 5 to 8 people, I think. And that's PMCs that load in. And PMCs are like the soldier, like the one where you choose your loot. And when you load in, you start at the beginning of a raid because there's a time limit. So all PMCs load in at the same time. However, if you kill all the PMCs, no one else can spawn in as a PMC after you've started the round.
Okay.
That being said, if you stay long enough, depending on the map, people can join as scabs, which are the other side of this. A scab is a random loadout that you get that you can go into the game, and you have no pouch, but you just get random items to start with. A gun, armor maybe, stuff in a backpack, or like tactical rig. And if you get out, you get to keep all that stuff. So it's basically free stuff if you can get out. And you start like typically 20 to 10 minutes before the end of the round. So you're joining way late into whatever game that is. So stuff's been looted. Yes, PMC is a private military contractor. And in this, there's like 2 that are fighting. But that's not how it works out. It's not like you're on a team of anyone who's in the same faction as you, and you can play with anyone who's a part of any faction. There's a lot of... Oh yeah, the scabs. So... if you join it as a scab, you lose nothing if you die. You just lose the stuff that you would have gotten. And then every time you get out, or if you die, it takes 15 minutes before you can scab again. So even if you lost everything as a PMC, you could keep going in as a scab every 15 minutes and like get your stuff back, get new stuff back. So it's a way of like never looting yourself out completely or losing all your gear.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The PMC people that.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. I didn't do it that time. That wasn't me. I didn't do that. That was not me.
Edie was typing to someone to take Nick out. Take him out now. He's still talking.
My hitman, my resident hitman. No, that was not me. So, Escape from Tarkov. It's
ahead,
a keeper as opposed to what was it? He says, I seem to have disconnected.
Oh, there he is.
Looks like he's coming back. There you go.
Oh no. Oh, we both tried to add.
Okay.
That was not me, Nick. I didn't do that.
No, I know. I could
Swear to God.
honestly, like, I could see every little window was like getting a little circle, and so I knew, oh, there's something struggling.
Mhm.
Yes.
But so, do each of the PMC people that spawn in, do they all have like the same mission, or is there like one person who says, "Oh, you have item A, you want to get out," and everyone else is like, "Kill that guy"?
No. It's you get quests because there are like these they're not NPCs. They're just kind of windows, but they're traders that'll hand you quests to go like find certain items or to do certain things. If you spawn into a map, you could have no quests there, and the whole point is to loot. Some people will have stuff they want to do, but it's nothing like where you're after another person or anything
So-
like that.
In theory, if everyone wanted to be nice, could everyone spawn in and just like walk by everyone and loot things, and
Oh,
just
yeah.
like everyone goes on their merry way and completes the mission without issue?
100%.
So this is like that old game where there's like 5 people, and it's like, oh, if everyone says yes, then everyone gets $100. But if one person says yes and everyone else says no, then that one person gets like $1,000. And so
Kind
it's
of,
like
yeah.
that like, oh, do you want to be selfish? Oh, it's like, oh, we want to convince everyone, to vote one way and then do the other way. It's like, no,
Okay, so
you meet someone and you're like, hey, no, man, it's cool. And as soon as he turns around, you
no. Okay, so that you would never do that. You would never have the trust to do that as a PMC.
it just never even gets to that point.
No. So, however, they did add a mechanic for the scabs where you can now get scab faction, and if you get that high enough, you get certain benefits like your retimer goes lower. One of the traders has better gear for you. So a lot of good stuff. So what it's made, and if you kill other scabs while you're scabbing, you lose that faction. So when you're playing as a scab, you'll run into people who are scabbing, and they may not kill you. As a PMC, no, you kill another PMC immediately.
Okay.
They have the odds of having the best loot to begin with. And B, you would never trust your back on them ever. They have no reason not to kill you.
And as a scab, there's that like, what about you? Gonna shoot me? No, you gonna shoot me?
That happened.
I don't know.
I was playing one of the maps, and I was heading towards an exit. It was a map I was unfamiliar with, and I see this guy. We kind of look at it, and in Tarkov, you can wiggle side to side like you lean. So like when you want to be peaceful, you wiggle. You do the Tarkov wiggle. And when this first happened,
The
it was a way
Tarkov jig.
it was a way to see if a scab was a person or not. You would wiggle, and then the devs noticed that, so they put it in that the AI will now wiggle at you too.
Oh, that's fucked up.
But
That is so mean.
I
Wow,
got
the
to-
devs are really sadistic, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they don't want you to have fun. I think he's actually said that. But there's I ended up going to the exit, and I saw this dude, and we're like, wiggle. Okay, I'm gonna stay over here. You're gonna stay over there. And we're gonna work our way to the exit. And then there was 2 other people who were a little bit ahead, and we looked at each other, wiggle, and we all 4 went to the exit together, and no one killed each other. It was a very wholesome moment.
Oh. I imagine all of you holding hands and skipping.
Right.
Uh,
See, you
But-
play these games of being awful to each other and other people being awful to you for that moment when 2 people are not awful to each other.
Yeah.
It helps that they put the scab faction in for that, because I've had a game where I walked up to a guy, wiggle, bam, shot in the... They don't care. So in the game, you have PMCs, and you always kill them because they have the chance of having like really good loot. And you can see each piece of loot that they might have unless it's something in their bag. There's the AI consists of scabs, which are your basic units that are just people walking around. They typically have the lowest grade of loot. Cheap weapon that's almost broken. You have raid bosses, which are scab bosses that typically have they look different. They have a particular weapon. Like in Factory, the smallest map, there's a scab boss that'll run at you with a sledgehammer. And it's terrifying.
DJ Phil Collins in the chat says, when there are 4 scabs wiggling at the same time, they're called the Teletubbies.
AC Ray, thank you for the link to the prisoner's dilemma.
Yes.
Uh,
Oh, shut up, Siri. God dang
did you want to start a prisoner's dilemma? Yeah, so you have scav bosses. They, like I said, they're unique. The one in the factory will run at you with a sledgehammer, and I've had a friend die multiple times. One time she had to break her leg, and one of the quests is you have to go get a certain number of kills of scabs with a broken leg or an injury.
Okay.
Well, she turned the corner, and here comes the guy charging her with a sledgehammer, and she has a broken leg, and I just hear her scream. And she's like, I'm dead. So fun times. Then
So-
you have scav
yeah.
guards.
Yeah.
Like they're typically higher end people who have really good aim. Like I attacked a scav boss once, and I'm on top of this roof like 100 yards away, and I poke my head out and I get shot, like almost dying immediately. And then you have raiders, which are basically they're one step above raid bosses in a way, in that they have like PMC level gear, super accuracy, like they're hardcore, but they don't have as much health as a raid boss. And yeah, the goal is to just kill these people, loot containers and stuff, and get out. Like that's the whole gameplay loop. While finishing quests, and there's a few other things. One thing that's amazing about this game is the level of detail. For instance, if it's raining, you'll see like raindrops hit your gun, and they'll kind of get in your eyes, and it's not a huge problem, but if you put on goggles, which have really no benefit, they will block out the rain. Like you'll no longer get raindrops on your eyes, for instance. There are like multiple helmets in the game with different armor, and some of them go over your ears, and if they go over your ears, it's harder to hear. So
oh,
kinda
so
take
they
into
really think through this
account.
in detail.
And if you have a helmet that doesn't have a visor, if you get shot in the face, you die immediately. But if you have a visor, there's a chance you might live. But if you put down a visor, it has a glare, and it's like looking through a window.
It limits your vision.
Yes. And there's a ton of little details like that.
Interesting.
You have to eat and drink in the game, and like each thing has its own animation and like design for the objects they're eating and drinking. A lot of little details that are fantastic. It makes the game.
Yeah, I noticed that when in this gameplay that we're playing, we're have on screen, that when he went to go heal himself, it wasn't just like, shoot yourself with a hypodermic and then you're gone. It was shoot yourself with a hypodermic, pull out the forceps, pull out the bandages. Yeah. It was quite an involved process that shows the level of detail in those small animations.
And there's a number of injuries. For instance, you can get light bleeding or heavy bleeding. Light bleeding, you can just get a bandage and cover it up. Heavy bleeding requires like an actual like tourniquet-esque thing. If you each part of your body has health, and if you lose that body part, like if you lose a leg, you're limping. If you lose an arm, your aim's swaying. And you have to have a piece of you have to have a particular medical item to fix that. And then you have to use a healing item to heal it. And all of that takes time. So it's not like you can just pop that out in the middle of a gunfight and like just get that done and like continue fighting. There's so much detail to that. And in this game, it's a lot of fun. But like I said, if you die and you had something amazing, you're like, I quit. I'm going to uninstall this game. Fuck this game. Worst game ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
So, yeah, that sounds like an interesting game I will never play.
It's hardcore. It is for a particular subset of people.
Not even.
Yeah, I want to watch.
I'm interested. It sounds cool, right? I want to watch someone else.
I would love to stream sometime if you guys are interested.
Oh yeah, I would totally watch that.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's my only game that I've been talking about.
Hopefully, Nick won't spend so much time on a game. Hint, hint, hint.
Oh boy, I've got a lot of games.
Well, then go through them quickly.
Okay, let's see.
Life is short, she says.
Yeah, okay, here. I'm sharing a screen. Get the cat to stop. Okay. So, This is Planet Alpha. This is one of the free games with gold for this
Mhm.
month. And I remember a couple weeks ago we were like, "What is Planet Alpha? That's a game I've never heard of." And I thought, well, heck, I might as well try it. What it is kind of interesting. Like, it is a sci-fi version of Limbo or Inside. That kind of puzzle platformer where there's not a lot of explicit story. You're just kind of moving from left to right, and just like trying to get through various obstacles. Let me jump ahead. And what's neat is it has a really cool visual to it, especially in the beginning. A lot of it is just very simple, casual platforming with some really nice sci-fi vistas in the background. And I think it works really, really well. And I was really enjoying it in those parts.
It is gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. The problem is that for as much as the visuals are great, the puzzles themselves are not. Um, if there's one thing that's consistent about it is that a lot of the solutions are inconsistent.
Oh, I hate that in
So there's
platformers.
a lot of timing issues.
Mhm.
You know, there might be one scene where a killer robot is in the background, and in the middle of the ground, there's the mid ground. You know, there's a conveyor belt with some box on it, and then in the foreground is you, and you have to walk across the screen while keeping the box between you and the robot, so that it doesn't see you and shoot you. Right? That's a puzzle that's been in a ton of games. But the way the timing works, a lot of those types of puzzles I just ran past. And I spent a lot of this game just running to the right, running past a lot of enemies, a lot of puzzles, a lot of things, um, because that's just how the timing worked out. And there are some puzzles where I would try to do something, the timing wouldn't work, and so I would try to do something else and kind of bang my head against that puzzle for 5 to 10 minutes, and then look up the solution. And the solution is the thing I tried to do in the beginning. It's just, oh, when I tried it initially, the timing didn't work. When I tried it the second time, the timing did work. The way the levels are laid out can get kind of confusing. A lot of times I'll run to the right and hit a dead end. And, you know, again, spend 10 minutes trying to find my way around, only to realize I need to backtrack like 100 feet and go down instead of to the right. And so there's a lot of little issues like that that I think end up dragging down the experience and making it, you know, not as smooth as, you know, Limbo or Inside are. And so there's only so much that the cool sci-fi visuals can uh, uh, paint over. And at a certain point, it's like, oh, okay, I'm just kind of not having fun with these puzzles. For
Mhm.
as much as I want to see what cool thing comes up next, it's like I don't want to have to play through these puzzles to get to it. And
God, it's such
so,
a shame because it's such a good looking game. Gosh, it's
Yeah.
yeah, and I'll
pretty.
skip ahead to some other stuff. This was a cool area when you've got like a huge vista that you're looking down.
Yeah.
And I know there was one of my favorite parts is the entrance to this cave, because it does a really fascinating thing where you see this giant orb in the background. And at first, it's not clear what's going on, what that orb is doing, and then it crashes to the ground. And you're like, oh, well, that's weird. And then, like, this white glow appears and it kind of starts coming toward you. It's like, oh, what is this? And then you slowly realize, oh shit, it's an explosion. And it's like this giant Akira-esque explosion that's overtaking the continent, and you have to solve a puzzle to open the door before it gets to you. And it's just done really, really well. And it's just kind of unfortunate that the puzzles themselves don't they're not at the same level as the visuals.
Yeah, that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, next game.
Yes, the next game is one that I played on Game Pass. All of these are Game Pass games, called Star Renegades. And hit play. Okay. Oh, let
Full
me
screen?
mute that. Yes, it's full screen and muted.
Oh, it's not. There we go.
So Star Renegades is a really interesting roguelike RPG. I really like the style of it that you can see here, where you're kind of exploring this land. It's a pixel art, but kind of an isometric top-down view.
Mhm.
And it's got shockingly good details of trees. Like you can see the various colors of the leaves in the
The
environment.
mountains and yeah.
Yeah, it's all so great. I love the way it looks. The combat system, I think, is really, really awesome and interesting. So the way the combat works is it's all about controlling when people can go, when people take their turns. At the top of the screen, there's a timeline, and it shows when the enemies are going to attack. And like each move you have has a certain time associated with it, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 15 seconds. And that determines when you will take your action on the timeline. If you take an action before an enemy, it's an automatic critical hit, and you will push them back on the timeline. So the more you attack an enemy, the more you delay their attack, and you can actually push them off of the timeline and prevent them from taking any turn this round. You won't be able to do that the next round. Like the next round, they are.
You can't just unlock them for the entire.
Yeah, you can't
fight.
do that.
Okay.
But that leads to a lot of very interesting strategic situations. Was like, oh, this guy's planning a big move. I'm going to push him back and break him. I'm going to let the other guy attack, so that I can then push him back next round. And it's a really interesting situation.
So it's really not so much fighting as controlling the fight.
Yeah, controlling the fight. And some guys have a move that doesn't do a lot of damage, but pushes them back on the timeline a lot. Another guy has a move that hits everyone and pushes them all back and executes very quickly. So that's always like a good opening move, because all of a sudden you push the enemies back 5 seconds, and that gives your guys more room to execute stronger attacks, because the stronger attacks, of course, take more time to execute. So I love the combat system. As you're exploring the world, you can only explore a little bit each day. And when the day ends, I'm trying to find it here, you'll camp. And what you do when you camp is you're allowed to play these cards that you collect. And each of those cards will kind of give you a stat bonus, like, oh, here's more shield for 2 rounds. But more importantly is it increases the affinity between the party members. And so as you go forward, you can actually create relationships with some of these characters. And in a very interesting twist that I haven't gotten to myself, because this is a roguelike and it does reset at a certain point, depending on like the relationships that you have between some characters, some of the characters you can get in the next round would be their children. So it's like, oh, this Han Solo dude and the Edge of Tomorrow chick became like
Kylo Ren
good
and
friends. Yeah, Kylo Ren and Rey. They became really good friends and then companions, and then they got into a romantic relationship and had a kid, and that kid is like on the mission for the next playthrough. And that seems like a cool idea.
That's kind of neat. So you've got family lines. You're keeping it in the fam. I like that.
So it really sucks that I hate all of these characters.
Oh.
I think the writing is particularly bad because all of it is a joke. All of these characters are parodies. You've got like the strong, female soldier in the armor suit, and when you get to a shop, she's like, do they have any designer brands? You've got a Han Solo-esque character, and when you find like an ancient alien site, he goes, oh, do you think they have the bathroom? I really need to go. Oh, Jesus Christ. Like all its attempts at humor are cringy.
We got a gamer, Holy Goalie in the chat room who says, thinking of you guys, not Nick though.
I know I'm always on Goalie's mind. I live rent free in Goalie's mind all the time. Has he doesn't mind. It's a timeshare that we have with each other.
timeshare.
Yeah.
I'm sad to hear that because this game has like a genuinely nice art style to it that I think is unique and fun, and it sounds like the mechanics are kind of interesting.
Yeah, I love playing it and exploring it. The combat's great, the art is great. It's just all of these characters are parodies and they're jokes. And so like even as I play more cards, one of them who's like a really great character is Alex Jones has a soldier and it's like I hate everything about this person. I don't want anyone to have a relationship with him.
This person does not need a baby.
Yes. And that just really sucks because it feels like one of the core things going forward is, oh, let's see how these characters and relationships evolve. And it's like, no, I don't care about any of that. I don't like any of these people. And also what I encountered like after playing for like 5 hours, this is a roguelike with very, very long loops. I played for
Oh.
5 hours and got through like 2 of the 5 planets that there are. So you can play for a very, very long time before it loops. And that means that's a lot of time to invest in the character point-wise, stat-wise, level-wise, equipment-wise, even relationship-wise. It's a lot of investment to put into an RPG character that all of a sudden, shit, you died, and so let's restart the game. It's like, oh man, the way this game is set up, it's long enough that I don't think they needed the roguelike aspect of it to loop. I think it stands just fine on its own without that. And so it makes me kind of not want to play it because at this point I put so much energy and thought into like these characters and what moves they have and the equipment they have. It's like, well, shit, I don't want to lose them. I don't want to start over. So I'm a little hesitant to go back just because I don't want it all to disappear.
Which is, I get that. Yeah,
Yeah.
like.
And that's that's the nature of the genre, and I get that. But it is just like, oh man, I wish it had better characters, and I wish that it just had a story that it told from beginning to end.
I do feel like if a roguelike goes too long and through a playthrough, that it stops feeling like, all right, time to go into another one, and oh my god, I can't believe I just died there. I have to start over.
A roguelike is at its best, I think, when there are very short loops. Speaking of short loops, I played another roguelike on Game Pass called Going Under, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
I thought you were gonna go into like your new cereal brand. Speaking of short loops, I have this new cereal brand,
Short loops.
Dina Cola.
Yeah, no, that's my soda brand.
Oh, my bad.
But you can always pair short loops with a Dina Cola.
Right. With
Part
a
of a
bowl,
balanced breakfast.
nothing starts your day like a bowl of short loops.
A bowl of short loops in some Dina Cola.
That is the breakfast of the champions.
Yep.
Anyway.
So yeah, I should be sharing. Oh, I didn't put full screen? That's
Nope. Didn't pull
absurd.
full screen, didn't start it.
Okay. So Going Under is a lighthearted roguelike that takes place. The whole thing is a parody of startup culture, where you're this girl who's become a marketing intern for a startup that makes sparkling meal replacement drinks.
Oh, gross. Oh,
I know some people who'd be
God.
into like just
That
meal
sounds
replacement drinks.
disgusting.
Yes. And so one of the things has a marketing intern. The marketing is actually all done by an AI. So what the CEO says is, hey, go to these other startups and go fight your way through them and go fight the CEO so that you can get this ancient artifact that like benefits startups. And so it's basically like a war between your startup and all these other startups.
I see how this is very true to life. Like,
yes.
I see nothing fantasy about this.
And each dungeon is a different startup, and what I like about it is every time you complete a dungeon, the next one opens up, and you can just go do that one right away. So unlike a lot of roguelikes, you're not forced to replay the one starting area over and over and over again. And I know a lot of roguelites do allow you to skip it, but this one allows you to do that very quickly. You know, I don't have to play through the first startup over and over again. I can just immediately hop to the second. Each run, the gameplay itself is just kind of a 3D beat 'em up. You pick up things like broom, a desk, a table, a monitor, keyboard, coffee cup,
Potted
and
plant.
yeah, and just use those as weapons. And each one has a level of durability, and it's not complicated, but it works. Like, it's fun. I never had any issue with the controls. Like, I think it all plays pretty well. But what's neat is once you get outside of the dungeon, you then enter into conversations with all of the people in the startup. Like, you can explore and talk with the other employees, and they will give you missions. And if you complete those missions within a dungeon, you then get the ability to have that employee be your mentor. And that sort of spawns different things. So what's neat is very quickly, you have the ability to have the mentor, the CEO be your mentor, or like the CEO gives you a mission. And if you complete that mission, he goes, "Oh, great, I'm going to mentor you." And if you have him as your mentor, you get the company credit card. What the company credit card does as an item is it allows you to buy anything in the stores, regardless of how much money you have, right?
Mhm.
Right away, you can just buy anything. And it's like, oh, this is awesome. But when you do, you suddenly go into debt. And how the debt manifests in a run is it's a literal ball and chain around you that you have to drag behind you. The more money you spend, the bigger the ball gets. So in the beginning, if you're like $10 in debt, it's this little ball behind you and you can just run around and it just drags behind you. If you're $100 in debt, it's big, and all of a sudden you're running and it's like, oh shit, I'm running through water. I'm not going fast. If you're $200 in debt, like, oh shit, I can't move. I need to pick up this ball and chain and carry it with me everywhere I go. And that's just one example. You can, if you choose another guy has your mentor, then he's like, oh, you know what? The sparkling meal replacement drinks, they actually explode a lot. And so we want to investigate how this can be weaponized. So if you have him as your mentor, throughout the levels, various sparkling meal replacement drinks will spawn that you can then use as weapons. And so each mentor adds a new twist to the dungeon, a new thing that will spawn. And like I said about the missions, one of the things I like about this is that whenever you go into a dungeon, a startup, you have all of these other little objectives that you can try to complete. Kill 8 enemies with fire, buy a coffee machine from the shop, various things like that. And so every time you go into a dungeon, it's not just about how far can I get. It's about how far can I get, but also I'm going to try to complete all these other things. And so a lot of the issue I have with roguelikes is I'll play it for several hours and then just get kind of tired because ultimately I'm playing the same areas with the same motivation over and over again. I'm always just trying to get farther.
It gets boring.
Yeah. And so I really appreciate that this game just gives you little tiny objectives throughout. That's like, hey, kill, 10 goblins with a hammer. It's like, okay, I'm going to go try to find a hammer and then I'm going to try to go kill 10 goblins with it. And it's just a tiny way to vary up the motivations in a way that I think makes it each run very refreshing. And it prevents each run from feeling super repetitive.
Phil Collins says Sisyphus seam with an Ensure soda. I'm in. Ensure soda.
Oh, I don't know what Ensure soda is.
Ensure is the meal replacement drink that you give to old and sick people. When right, yeah, that's to like boost up their
soda.
It's not a soda. It is usually a shake, like a thick chocolate or thick vanilla or thick strawberry.
Yeah. And so this is one of those games that I feel like is just brimming with creativity and like, oh, what new enemies am I going to encounter in each in each new startup. What new weapons am I going to get? What new thing am I going to get? What new gameplay twist is it going to throw at me? And it's just a fun,
That's
neat
roguelites at its
game.
best.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like I just want to see what new thing I encounter. So, yeah, I find Going Under to be extremely fun. And like I said, it's on Game Pass. Everyone can check it out. It's worth
Who
checking
has Game
out.
Pass?
Yeah. Okay, probably the best game that I played. How did I share that? The best game that I played, my personal favorite, is Octopath Traveler. Which
you went back to it again.
no, I never started it.
Oh, okay. I have it. I've never started it either, but I thought that you really loved it.
I played a demo, and really, really loved the demo. And my brother gave it to me for Christmas one year for the Switch, because that's what it originally came out on.
Mm-hmm.
But I just never got around to playing it on the Switch. And so finally it's on Game Pass. I kind of was in like, hey, I feel like I played a whole bunch of short games. I want a long game. So I started it. And it is very much a old school JRPG.
Mm-hmm.
But again, what sets it apart is this very unique art style, where it's a 2D plane, but with very high-res 3D graphics, very high-res 3D lighting. And so when you're moving through the world, let me get to motion. They're all just talking. Stop talking and get to walking. The world really comes alive in a way that it adds a new life to, the old school pixel art of a JRPG.
Oh, maybe I did start it because this is the one with the girl and she's got a sister. She's adopted.
Oh, yes. And so
Okay. Yeah, I did
when-
start it, but I didn't get very far into it.
And so it's got 8 characters, right? Octopath. And the thing is, you can choose any of those 8 to start with. And you then kind of circle the map and pick up the other 8 characters. And what I appreciate is each of the characters, they don't fit into the traditional RPG adventure mold. Like there's no barbarian, there's no strongman. There is like a soldier, but there's only one. You've got, a cleric, but then you also have a merchant. You have a scholar. You have a hunter. You have an apothecary. And it's like these are not typical like Dungeons and Dragons classes. And so it's really neat to see how those classes get used in the combat system. It's a fun game. I really like it. The greatest issue with it is that for as much as I like each of these characters, there's like 0 interaction between them.
Ooh, that's
Even
know why.
though the whole thing is about you collecting a party, there is like no I'm like 15 hours in and I don't think a character has had dialogue with another character.
that almost seems like a party foul with a game that how this game is designed with your party. Like,
So whenever you get to a new town, you get a quest marker that's like, hey, this is the character from this town. You go up to them and talk to them, and you kind of get their origin story. When the origin story ends, it comes back to them, and they'll be like, so yeah, that's why I need some help. Can you help me? Okay, that's great. Let's go. And it's like, wait a
What
minute.
did I just do?
It's like, they just keep talking. Can you help me? Okay, that's great. I'm like, you couldn't even just put up a separate dialogue of my character saying, yes, I'll help you? No, no. And so all of their stories are very self-contained. Right now we're seeing Ophelia, who's the cleric, who's like, oh, I'm going to go on this, religious quest instead of my stepsister because our father's sick and she wants to be with him. So I'm going to do this in her place. Her story, even though she travels with 7 other people, they never interact with her story. When she gets to her next chapter, it's all just her interacting with stuff.
that's kind of
It's very, very disappointing because I like each of these characters. I think they're neat and fun. I want to see how their story goes. This isn't Star Renegades. I care about these people, but they just don't interact with each other at all in a way that boggles my mind.
To me, this to use the opposite end of this, like think of like Mass Effect or Dragon Age, when you have
Yes.
those in between moments where you're on an elevator or you're walking at the start of a town, so there's nothing to do, and then you have your characters bicker, like your party members bicker or talk about something. Those moments stick with you, and it makes those characters feel real.
That's what was very much I don't want to say maybe the main driving force, but certainly a big driving force with Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah.
Was that there were places you knew that those conversations would trigger, and they were always gold. They were always in, like, just either they hit different moods depending on who was having that conversation with you, but a lot of them were hilarious. Some of the best writing I think in video games ever were those little mini conversations that were just made the thing like you played it longer because you wanted to trigger one more of those conversations.
But it does more than that though, because like it also gives the sense that when you're not the focus of like those two characters' conversations, you realize that, oh, these are people. Like that plays in your head that like they have their own thoughts.
It feels real.
To have a game about 8 specific characters working together and to have none of that, like at all, just makes me feel weird. Makes me angry. Irrationally angry. Especially in a narrative-driven game.
Yes. So it helps that the combat is very, very fun. Like the combat and the individual stories are very fun. I find that a lot of the character interaction I have to make up in my head as like, oh, I'm basically writing a fan fiction of these. You know, I started with X, they met Y, so they're like buddy. And then the third person who joined is like, oh, you're just kind of a hanger-on. It's like, you know, you do inevitably kind of develop a character yourself as you change their stats, as you give them different classes. But, you know, a game should do more than that. Anyways, the combat system is very neat. It's sort of built around these things called BP. And I know the B stands for something. It might be breakpoints. Basically, every turn, your characters get a breakpoint. And they don't have to do anything special to earn it. It just comes automatically. What it does is it allows them to take an extra action each turn. So if you amass a bunch of breakpoints, you can use 4 at once. So if you amass like 4 breakpoints, that means you can use those 4, and then in addition to your turn, you can use 3, and then in addition to your turn, you get 4 moves. So you can attack 4 times in a single turn. And that's really cool because it's all about using these breakpoints strategically to strengthen certain attacks at certain times. The enemies themselves have various weaknesses. And the weakness can be an elemental attack, lightning, water, thunder, fire, or a type of weapon, bow, axe, sword, spear. And a lot of the tactics, whenever you meet a new enemy, is experimenting with all these different weapons and abilities to see what they're weak to. Because when you use a weapon that an enemy is weak to, enough times you will break them. And when you break them, kind of like in Star Renegades, they don't have a turn. So it's a lot of like, oh, these wolves have an armor of 1. So all I have to do is hit them once with a ability that they're weak to, and they're broken. They don't have a turn for like the next 2 turns. That also means that like their armor is down. So then that's when you want to have your other guy use all of his BP, attack 3 times in a single round while they're weak. And so it's a lot of maneuvering of like, okay, person X is going to attack them and take down their armor. Person Y is then going to attack them a bunch when they're weak. Person B is going to heal. Person D is going to like do a support or just like do a basic attack and then amass breakpoints for later. And it's a neat combat system that moves surprisingly quickly because once you know what the enemies are vulnerable to, you can very quickly just go bang, bang, bang. He's broken. He's not going to get a turn. Other people are going to attack him. Bang, bang, bang. He's dead. And it's really cool to have a combat system that feels really complicated, but then once you kind of internalize all the rules and the nuances of it, you're just banging out random encounters. Like, oh, it's a random encounter, boom, boom, boom. 60 seconds later, you're done. It's like, oh, that it feels good to,
Slaughter.
yeah, to do that. And yeah, so between a cool combat, great art, good story, I'm really enjoying the hell out of it. I'm definitely going to play it through to the end. But it is just a damn shame that there's not more character interaction between these likable characters.
All right. All right. So, any other games you want to talk about before we move into the news?
That's right. I did play Ori and the Blind Forest. I'll just talk about that very briefly.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. It's a good puzzle platformer. I found it to have a little issues just telling like what is going on the screen, because there's a lot of particle effects and there's a lot of foreground, background, midground, leaves everywhere, and it's sometimes I'm like, wait, I can't tell what's going on. Am I getting hurt or am I doing the hurting? But yeah, it's a fun
Platformer.
What's the genre called? Yeah, it's specifically not Castlevania like. Metroidvania. That's what it's called.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Although my one issue with it, in the upgrade tree, one of the fairly early upgrades you can get is an air dash. So you can dash in the air. I made a beeline for that move, got that move, and suddenly realized, oh, this just allows me to do the dash in the air. But I don't have a dash yet. Where do I get the dash move?
I did the same thing.
I went literally the entire fucking game. Never got the dash move because the dash move is in a hidden area way down at the bottom of the map that the story never takes you to. It's only
that's
at the end of the game I'm like, okay, what is down here? Because I kept thinking, yes, I beat it. I finished the game, went down into that bottom area, and was like, I'm going to see what's down here, because what is it? And there's the dash move. I'm like, you motherfuckers, I got that in the first hour.
I got that. That was one of the first things I did, was I eventually worked my way down there, because I explore every single area, and yeah, I found that.
Well, down there, it's all pitch black, and so I assumed, oh, maybe I'll get an ability that lights up the area around me. And so I'm like, oh, I'll come back here later with a different ability. No.
So I mentioned this last time that when I was playing it, it was kind of bugged on PC. You remember the move where you jump and you hit somebody and then you bounce in a new direction?
Yeah, that is a super important move.
Imagine if you could not change the direction and it just kind of had a random direction.
Oh, you couldn't play it.
That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, that sucks.
Okay.
All right. So anything else before we...
That is all the games I played. Sorry, I have to look underneath the webcam to find the tab that's open.
One that I just want to mention that I'm looking forward to on the Game Pass.
Uh-huh.
I'd have to bring up my Game Pass because...
Is it called The Ascent?
No, it is a PvP or PvEVP game. And
PvEVP?
PvEVP, yeah.
Okay, a PvP.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a PvE game.
Right.
It's coming out soon. And
let me try to PvE.
Shit. Where?
PvP.
PvP. It's a PvP.
It's a PvP game.
I like pepperoni in my PvPs.
Pepperoni.
Can't find it, so I'll discuss it. It's a first-person shooter, turn-based game
Called?
You can play. I don't know.
Well, then why are we talking about? If you don't even know the fucking, talk about it next week. God damn it!
Is it The Gunk? Back for Blood? Illyrian Chronicles? 100 Heroes? I'm just looking
Limnus Gate.
Okay, Limnus Gate.
Yes. I'm looking forward to trying it. It comes out, I think, in 2 weeks. It's Game Pass, first day launch. It is a first-person shooter, turn-based game, and you can play with a friend or you can play against people, and so you can 2v2, 1v1. And how it works is you have a team, and you have 10 rounds. Each round, you use a different person, and on your turn, on your first of your round, you use that person, you run, and you go try to complete something at 10 seconds or 25 seconds. So like there's objectives that you can shoot and damage, and you might have to hold a point or something. But you go and do that action, and then the other person goes, and they use a character, and they go do something for 25 seconds. And then your turn's up. And now, on the next turn, those two people will automatically at the same time go and do their turn while you're controlling a new person. And you layer on that for 10 rounds. So,
Okay.
like, you see somebody trying to complete an objective, on that next round, you can go use your person to go and shoot that team, like that enemy. And depending
So
on how
you're populating a multiplayer map with just you and one other person.
each you and one other person are populating the map with eventually 10 people going off at once.
Yeah, like 10 copies of yourself.
Yeah. And I'm thinking from my understanding, there might be classes and like people with different weapons and such. So you can like use strategy to change like how things go. And I'm kind of excited to try it because it seems genuinely unique.
Yeah.
And I want to know like what we're seeing now. I'm not sure if this is
Goalie's comment is, I've completed things in 10 seconds before.
Chump 5 or get out.
Goalie.
Kind of a first-person worm.
This is not my proudest moment.
But, eventually everything starts happening simultaneously, but it starts like, as you can see, the turns start and you have like these 4 people run off and do the thing that they did last turn.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of interested in seeing how this plays, and I'm looking forward to
I'm
it.
interested, yeah. Like AC Wraith says it's like a first-person shooter Frozen Synapse.
Kind of cool.
Anyways,
All right.
Game
So
Pass.
now can we hit the news?
I guess we could probably.
All right. Let's hit the news. This is the GameHounds news, the news, views, and commentary of the week in gaming with Gamer Edie, Nick Nicola, and Andrew Smith. And the first item is...
Oh, man, there's a lot. I'm not even sure where to begin.
I'm going to start with a funny one.
Okay.
Okay.
So, if you've been around, they announced the Steam Deck, which is a handheld gaming console that is kind of meant to compete with the Nintendo Switch.
Mhm.
It's going to run Steam games, and there's a lot to talk about, and we'll get into that. But, hilariously, Elgato came out with... Elgato is a streaming company, and they came out with a new device, and it's kind of niche to people who are using an Elgato, but it is horribly named Stream Deck. And it is a device that's supposed to help your, you control your stream. And they announced it on the same day as the Steam Deck.
Oh, no. So the question is, who did that first? Or was it just a really bad coincidence?
It's a bad coincidence because no one knew the Steam Deck was coming. And they were like, you just have to imagine, like, all right, this is the day. There's not a lot of tech announcements. But on the same day, they were announced at the same time. And the only thing that they're competing for is the name.
Yeah.
Like, I just think that's hilarious.
But I'm not going to lie. The Steam Deck does look cool.
There's a lot to talk about there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into the Steam Deck then.
Okay.
Because I think it seems like a neat product at the low end that's like way overpriced at the high end, and that honestly doesn't really fit any particular niche very well.
It's true. I mean, we've had one of those called a PlayStation Go
People like that. So,
and the Vita.
but like those work because those were handheld consoles. The thing is, this wants to be a handheld PC.
Point.
And the way I see it, because it is the high-end Switch that people wanted Nintendo to announce, but they didn't. So I think one of the reasons this is getting a lot of positive buzz is because it is what people wanted from Nintendo, but Valve came in and gave it to them. But like the internals are good enough that like it can run a AAA game. But the size of the hard drive on the low end is so small that you probably couldn't run that many. And also, who is really going to play Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty on this little tiny handheld when you could play it on a TV or a monitor?
Well,
Well, when
see,
you don't have access to a TV or a monitor, or
Do you
don't-
really need Call of Duty on hand 24/7? You can't just
well,
you can't just like go to a park and enjoy.
There's a lot of honestly, I'll say it right now. There are a lot of business people who are traveling that have Call of Duty teams. They have day jobs, and that's something that is just, I think, starting to be accepted as being a actual viable demographic of people that
Yeah, the toilet gamers.
yeah, Gilly says I could play zombies while taking a dump. You could anyway. I mean, all you
come
just need is a bigger like
TV in the bathroom.
table.
Yeah.
But the whole thing about that whole demographic of people that are hardcore gamers that need to have their games because that is how they wind down, or they're on teams and do stuff, but they also have jobs that take them away from their houses or like into hotel rooms. And that was never, I mean, Nick, we Fighter Race, our friend who was a pilot who loved the game.
Yeah, and he really liked Stadia because it filled that niche for him.
Right. And the thing is that Stadia doesn't really work it filled the niche, but that was a proof not of the concept of Stadia. It was a proof of concept of the demographic of people who want to travel with their games.
Yes. And I'm not saying there's no market. I'm just saying it feels super, super niche.
Well, I mean,
it's niche for a group of people that will do it and have a lot of money to spend.
I'm interested in it because if I get my overnights position, that is something I would like. Like, I would not be able to bring a computer with me. Like, that's not allowed. But a handheld device, I might be able to get away with. And
something else that is also important to note about the Steam Deck is, and I will pull up the graphic in a second, you don't have to play it on the Steam Deck. You can actually, with a larger screen, just piggyback the screen off of it and actually use it as your gaming PC.
Mm-hmm.
That's I'm a little less excited about that because of the way the game runs. Like, it's set to run at 1280 or
right.
Like,
this is not supposed to replace your home computer. It's supposed to be an augmentation of your home computer.
And there's something to be said about like using that Steam library of all your games. Like, a Nintendo Switch is fun, but you're getting that to play Nintendo games, and there's a lot of fun games there. But if you get something like this,
I'm also getting a Switch to play all of the indie games that come out on
He doesn't
Switch.
even go out, and he's like, I still play my Vita every day in the bathroom. No joke. There is that niche,
but
with a lot of money.
But see, that's the thing. It's expensive. Like $400 is the low end. But the low end only has like 64 gig of space, which for AAA games is really not that much.
It's not.
The middle end is more expensive than a PS5 and an Xbox One X. Like, the high end is like 650. And I
agree with that.
I feel like
it is a bit. 650 is a bit spendy.
Like, the thing is, I don't doubt that the hardware is good. The Valve Index, their VR headset, is by all accounts like the best headset on the market. It's also $1,000 fucking dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And I said this in Discord. I think Valve did real harm to the VR.
Coley says, "I swipe and wipe."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a little TMI, but thanks for sharing. And you just leveled Nick. Mission accomplished. You made Nick shut up.
I want that to be Tinder's new tagline.
That's so nice.
Fuck, what was I even saying?
I don't know.
Yeah, the Valve. I think Valve did actual harm to the VR marketplace
Mhm.
by making one headset that's ultra expensive and then leaving like the low end stuff to just flounder. And now the only like real headset available for PC is Oculus. And you've got the VR headset that sold well, but it's only PlayStation. And now VR has basically become a Facebook thing because Oculus is the only real game in town, and because Valve,
They abdicated that middle
yeah,
market.
they just made a high end thing and then ignored the low end, which is where like the market actually is. So at least
Yeah,
here they
there you go. There's the prices right there.
and at
Canadian.
least here
That's
they
Canadian,
did
though.
make a
So-
low end model, which is good. And they didn't make the same mistake with Steam machines, where they just made the OS and then let hardware manufacturers make the actual machines, which went horribly wrong. So they are learning little lessons. All of their failed initiatives, they have done things differently this time. And I think that's good. But I still just don't know like what the real market or appeal of this thing is.
I don't think
Right.
it'll be
I
for
just-
kids. I think it'll be people
No,
who
definitely
are,
not.
like it'll be the same people who play the Switch. I think like people who get the most use of the fact that that's a mobile thing.
Mhm.
The fact like, hey, you want to play PC games, like you want to play one of the big things they were showing was Hades in your bed. Like you just want to like go do that. You can do that now. That being said, like I watched a breakdown of the specs, and it seems like price per performance, like what you're getting is going to run well. One of the big issues is going to be battery life, which is like apparently 2 to 8 hours, I think. Like that's as far as it goes. I think the average was like 4, which isn't a lot. So like don't expect to, if you don't have this thing, like a charger able to plug this thing in, expect to get much out of it.
And in the chat, AC Wraith talks about like the cost of games, and I don't think that like PC necessarily has lower cost of games now than it did several years ago, because I think Xbox and PlayStation and occasionally Switch like have enough big sales that like I've gotten a lot of stuff at deep discounts in a way that uh I feel I would have gotten the same on Steam. And like, you know, Steam is not putting a brand new game on sale for $10. Like you do have to wait several years for that to happen.
AC Wraith did write a comment. It says, "Is it really that expensive when considering the later cost of the games? Y'all seem to go crazy for measly 50% discounts that Steam customers wouldn't blink at. Meanwhile, indie devs can't even get the right to participate in sales on some consoles."
Yeah, and that is a different like issue entirely. Like I do think indie devs should be able to get in on those sales as well.
Yes, but I don't think. I mean, if what's a new game that just came out? Resident Evil 8. Resident Evil 8 is not on sale on Steam for $30, or for less than $30. You know, like brand new games are not super discounted on Steam necessarily more than they are on other consoles.
A word of warning about the Steam Deck, though, and this is an important one that I think they should be more open about, is it runs on a Linux kernel. Like it has its own proprietary OS, and it runs on Linux, but you're buying and playing Steam games. And while backwards compatibility is getting better, and they have a system called Proton, which is kind of like innate wine, which allows you to play like games in a, oh my gosh, the screen's going nuts.
It's on my screen, actually. That's them. That's either Google or it's Steam. It's probably Steam because they've been having issues.
From my understanding, Proton is like a wine where it natively runs a an environment for the game to run at its best, but it's not perfect. And the Steam Deck will run via Proton for a lot of its games, which not all games work very well on. So you have no guarantee that certain games won't do crazy things on this Steam Deck because it's not running in Windows.
Yeah, it's a different operating system.
Wow, what is? I mean, this is the only screen that's like this.
This is what hacking looks like in
In
movies.
movie? Yeah, any
Yeah.
movie.
That's right. So yeah, I mean, no other screen have I had that's doing this. So this is clearly Steam, and it's probably people hitting this login for reservations because, as we've mentioned, or we were going, Nick, one of us was going to mention, almost instantly, all the reservations have been like, people are pounding the Steam platform in order to get the reservations. At one point, it took down Steam, and all of the resellers from the scalpers are going to eBay.
Yep.
Well, they did something that was interesting. They made it so that if you haven't had a Steam account since I think it was July, no, this month, like June 24th. Like if you haven't had a Steam account before then, or if you haven't bought a certain number of items or games on Steam, you couldn't pre-order one. And not only that, it requires like a down payment on it. So I guess
it was only like
it's a $5 down payment. It's not that big a deal,
but
still,
it's something to discourage a massive scalpers.
Yeah,
which is good. It's again, they're learning the lessons of other people's failures. I have my doubts about this hardware, but I do think it's neat. Part of me is just like I don't believe in Valve to create like a piece of hardware that catches on. Everything they've made has been like, oh, this is actually really neat, and then it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
By the way, slight breaking news on that. eBay has officially removed from their platform resellers that are breaking the website policy in reselling their reservations, because that's what they're doing. They're going in and they're saying that, well, it's not all of them, but it's some of them. But they're taking down them down because they violate the website's pre-sale policy. Scalpers were listing all the various models because all the models are up there on Steam now as pre-order. And they are, what's happening is that the scalpers are listing these Steam decks as confirmed orders.
There's no way they can confirm it.
Right. And Valve's own FAQ has said in the product notes that it can't confirm availability yet. And because you cannot, according to eBay's policies, say they're confirmed orders for pre-sales when they're pre-sale orders. So a lot of these scalpers are not able to list, but unfortunately all they have to do is just take off confirmed orders, and then it's back up there.
Not that it's going to matter, but I hope some of their accounts get banned that have like relatively high ratings, or like, don't do that.
I would hope. I feel like it's a pretty good indication of like, oh yeah, this person's trying to sell a pre-order. Let's ban that account.
Case in point, I'm going to show you some of the things, some of the orders where it, where the way that they're being listed. You can see it's like Valve Steam Deck carrying case pre-sale order free ship, and then you'll see some of them say confirmed pre-sale pre-order, confirmed pre-order pre-sale, confirmed order pre-sale. So those are the ones that are getting removed, whereas the ones that don't say confirmed order are apparently fine. I don't know, but at some point yesterday, the majority of the listings were removed because of this.
And Goalie, I agree that storage is definitely going to be an issue on this stuff, and I don't think that the games will be scaled down in any meaningful way because you're using Steam's like interface and UI. You'll just be getting the PC version of the game, which will be scaled to what your system can run at. It's essentially like playing the PC version, and I don't think any dev's going to go back and like basically make a console version on Steam for it.
For the Linux nerds, according to DJ Phil Collins, he says for Linux nerds, it's running Arch KDE. I'm not a Linux nerd.
I am not either, despite his
efforts. I'm so not a Linux nerd that up until about 3 years ago, I called it Linux. Because I
thought Linus Tech Tips on YouTube was Linux Tech Tips for a little while.
But AC Ray says at the same time, I imagine pretty much any external storage would work as a peripheral.
Well, there's There's no confirmation on this, but they think that the SSD is going to be on board. Like, it is going to be soldered in. Which would suck. Which would basically mean you couldn't upgrade it. They would need some other, like, attachment that you could put on.
Right. So yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
Next item.
Well, we kind of got all the Steam Deck stuff out of the way, so should we jump on Ubisoft, who has been having a terrible time again?
Yeah, sure.
I guess I'll start with, the story I was going to lead into is Ubisoft CEO and others are being blamed for harassment. So
Yeah,
we've talked a lot.
Wait a minute, this isn't a news story. We heard about this months ago.
no, the CEO was never like being blamed for it. It was always like,
okay.
you know, these guys did the harassment. Now it has kind of gone up the chain and saying, you know, you didn't do the harassment, but you kind of knew and you didn't do anything about it, and you're kind of blaming you for it happening.
That
Yes.
trickles down to every other story about Ubisoft.
Right.
In the article, oh god, there it is. By Kotaku. It's been a big deal over the last year, and even in the article they say that Guillemot,
Yves Guillemot.
Gilly. Just call him Gilly.
Evie Gilly.
Gilly, yeah. He was never a
Gilly.
part of any of this, but based on the people who were involved, he would know by necessity. Like, there was no way he couldn't have known.
Right.
And because of that, he is culpable. Like, he should be held responsible for it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Not only that, but apparently a lot of the internal communication is that there has been no meaningful change in the environment over the last year. At least not enough that matters. Maybe overall it's not as bad, but there's still a lot of harassment that goes unpunished and untalked about. And while the CEO made like mandatory harassment, blah blah blah. The what do you call them? Like where you're getting taught something. I can't think of
Teaching?
Sensitive training.
Yeah, it's training. Essentially harassment training. Like he
Anti-harassment training. Seminars.
That's it. Nothing internally has changed that much. Not in a way that, like, after all this stuff that's been talked about, that the boots on the ground employees notice.
Mm-hmm. There's I don't know if this is the same article from Kotaku, but Ubisoft, I guess, has something called a universal registration document, which is kind of an internal review of the company. And part of it has, I don't know if it's leaked or if it is a public thing. I assume it must have leaked, but part of this universal registration document goes into how Ubisoft is facing some trouble hiring new talent due to, quote, occurrence of inappropriate behavior by employees. And the document specifically lists their failure to attract and remain talent has high. So even this internal review has seen like, yeah, this has taken a serious toll on the company and it's going to be an issue going forward. Like retaining and getting new people on board is going to be high. Basically, people don't want to work for Ubisoft.
Right. Well, would you want to? Would you want to? I mean, yeah, obviously you would, but...
And Ubisoft had their heyday in the same way a lot of EA did in like the 360 era.
So interestingly enough, and this is kind of a bit of trivia, my company, the head of human resources compliance was formerly with human resources compliance for Ubisoft.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
And I have to look to see when he left, but yeah, we haven't met in person because nobody's been in the office. I have yet to step foot in my office. But when I do go back in the office, I am going to make friendship with him and can be like, so you worked in Ubisoft HR, huh? because he's the one that makes us in our company go through, sexual harassment training and, HIPAA training and all the other training that you have to have legally in order to do our job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did find the quote that I was looking for. Apparently the CEO, Gilly, because I'll never be able to say his name right.
Yves Guillemot.
No, it's
Guillemot.
Evie Gilly. I like
Evie
Evie
Gilly.
Gilly.
He went out of his way to highlight that the steps they've taken is to include a VP of Global Diversity and Inclusivity, as well as mandatory harassment training, which it's nothing. Like the people who are harassing wouldn't go to these seminars and be like, yeah, okay, maybe I'm wrong here for doing this. I think that's just crap. But apparently, in Ubisoft Montreal, there are 3 managers who are accused of harassment or toxic behavior, and they're still there, despite reports by other employees, being reported by other employees. Mm-hmm. And the lack of follow-through has led to a fresh round of complaints on the Ubisoft's internal message board. They remain dissatisfied of the company's ongoing response a year later. So all of that stuff that we were kind of hyping them up and like
saying that they were addressing it, clearly they weren't that was all smoke and mirrors. Damn it! I was hoping that they were going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Shit.
Oh, see.
They needed the industry needed somebody to do the right thing. DJ Phil Collins says, "Oh, I see where they messed up. They should have had anti-harassment training."
I agree. These bitches had to break hands.
God damn, DJ, you're on fire today.
And we got Pissed in the chat room. Hey, Pissed.
All right.
So yeah, the industry needed, because I mean, is this problem unique to Ubisoft? No, not at all. Did Ubisoft have the resources and profile high enough that if they did the right thing, that it would make not just institutional change within their company, but throughout the industry, that they were in the position to say, this is how it's done. And it looked like that was the case. And that made me so happy, because somebody needs to set the bar for how to correctly handle this so that other people can go use the Ubisoft model. They did it right. You do it. Clearly, I was wrong. I was hoping that was the case. Shit.
Also, welcome, Pissed. How's it going?
Yeah.
Whoop. Yeah, that's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
And I probably should have started with this instead of leading into after it. But Ubisoft delays Rainbow Six Extraction and Riders Republic. And it feels wrong after talking about harassment and how that failed. That it's like, oh, also the games. Yeah, those have been delayed too. I should have started with that. I'm just saying.
Well, then I also had a new announcement from Ubisoft. They announced a new Assassin's Creed game called Assassin's Creed Infinity, which is
I was going to bring this up.
A live service game. And there's not a lot of details about it in the announcement, because the only reason they announced it is because information about it got leaked to Bloomberg. And Bloomberg actually has way more information on what this
Jason
is supposed
Schreier
to be.
has all the information.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. And I guess previously, a lot of these Assassin's Creed games have jumped between Ubisoft Montreal and Ubisoft somewhere else. I forget off the top of my head. But
let's see, let me find it. I will find it.
This game is basically Quebec. This is both of those teams working together to create one huge Assassin's Creed game, because Assassin's Creed games are so small already. They just, you beat them in an hour.
Not a lot of detail.
And yeah, there's just a lot of questions about what exactly it means to be a live service game.
Well, think Fortnite, think Grand Theft Auto, in that it's going to be this big world where they've said it's going to contain multiple settings with room to expand to others in the months and years.
Games.
That's what this is.
Assassin's Creed is not a multiplayer game.
It is a live platform I don't know if it's multiplayer or single player, but it's going to be a live service, meaning that you buy the Assassin's Creed Infinity and then just keep playing Infinity, and they keep pumping out content for Infinity, and you keep buying it.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like Assassin's Creed is already kind of set up narratively to do that. Like you can launch the Animus app on PlayStation, and then from there you can jump into Assassin's Creed Japan, Assassin's Creed Valhalla,
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed, whatever new thing they put out.
Right. But
So-
those are full games, and then this is going to be not a
Well,
full game. These are
also-
smaller games, and then a
Again-
month or so later, another smaller game that you
Again,
buy.
that might actually be better because those games have gotten way too big.
long. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
So-
yeah, Valhalla was just. I'm probably halfway through it, and I just walked away because I played so much of it. I couldn't go.
Yeah.
It's like I was sick of it.
So I don't know what this entails. There's a lot about it that could potentially like help the franchise, and there's a lot that could hurt it.
Mhm.
So, but also
Um,
apparently this is like a 2023 game. Like this is not coming out this year or next.
No, yeah, they're saying that. Where is it? The details around the project are in flux. It's still years away from release.
Yeah.
Speaking of dates, I mentioned that the Rainbow Six Extraction got delayed, and Riders Republic, which was that crazy like everyone's people wind gliding while people are on
Yeah.
dirt bikes. Yeah,
I'm like, interested in that game.
that game got delayed, and they don't have exact reasons why, but it got delayed until later in 2021. But Extraction got delayed till January 2022. So we're
Okay.
don't expect to see that for a while. And I know a lot of people, you guys even mentioned that it looked fun. It was kind of like a Left 4 Dead-esque version of
Mm-hmm.
Rainbow Six.
Yeah.
And
It's the Rainbow Six that I actually might play.
so, I mean, if you were interested into it, know that it's going to be a while.
Yep. So, are we done with the dump on Ubisoft?
There was one more that Nick brought up.
Yes. So a couple weeks ago, we talked about how
yeah.
was it Might and Magic 10 or Might and Magic? Yeah, Might and Magic 10 had a DRM issue that basically made it unplayable on Steam. So Ubisoft resolved this by taking the game off Steam. So they made an update that made the game unplayable, and they're like, "Oh shit, all bad. Let's just take the whole game away."
Well, I don't know. It depends on if they're taking the whole game away in order to fix it. I mean, if they've taken it away and they anticipate coming back to it with a fixed game, that's a better option
Maybe
than leaving up there and people buying a broken game.
they haven't said that, and this news story is at this point 2 weeks old.
Okay.
So the game just disappeared off Steam.
Just don't worry about it. It never happened, guys.
Yeah. What broken game? We don't see any broken game.
We've never broken a game before.
Yeah.
Just
I don't know what you're talking about.
carpet sweep down, all solved.
Oh yeah, those Might
Everything
and Magic
fixed.
7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13.
Yeah, it's always that.
Yeah, it's like floors on an office building. There's no floor 13.
Yeah, you always skip the 13.
Oh,
Yeah.
good old dump on Ubisoft.
So yeah. So all right, here's the new one to dump on. It's not the only Ubisoft wasn't the only company to get dumped on this week. Respawn's got a problem. And Titanfall players, whether it's 1 or 2, also have a real problem. So here's the way that this story kind of has played out. Titanfall has had a problem, both 1 and 2, with DDoS attacks. And right now it's near constant DDoS attacks. The game is down more than it's up for
Oh, God.
players.
Do that? Who? Why?
Yeah,
Why?
What did it do? It's people who are pissed off at Apex Legends.
Yeah, the Titanfall 1's DDoS attacks started in 2017, and Titanfall 2's DDoS attacks started in April of this year, really in earnest. And when they occur, and they occur very fairly regularly within the game. The games are completely unplayable. There's also a ton of other bugs because when Titanfall did a surprise launch on Steam, Respawn didn't fix the bugs that were existing, nor did it fix the vulnerabilities to DDoS attacks, which would have been a really smart thing to do if you're going to put it on freaking Steam, but they didn't. So instead, they just ported it over from Xbox without fixing the bugs, without fixing the vulnerabilities. And of course, the attacks continued and got worse. Add in that there were these other technical issues that were making the port unplayable with the DDoS attacks. And Titanfall on Steam, both 1 and 2, players are saying pretty much unplayable games at this moment. And this
is it only the multiplayer, or is the campaign of 2 affected as well?
I haven't heard of whether the campaign is affected. I think the campaign has bugs, but the multiplayer is unplayable.
Okay.
So
which kind of sucks because, I mean, if there was ever a chance for that game to come back, it's going to be on
Steam.
Yeah.
Well, not just Steam, but it's going to be on the multiplayer.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So Apex Legends, which is Respawn's biggest title, also had this same vulnerability and for a while started getting these DDoS attacks. But Respawn fixed it within hours. Meanwhile, some of these games, Titanfall, some of these DDoS attacks have been going on months and years, depending on which Titanfall you're talking about. And it hasn't been fixed. This launched, pretty much spurred the community to start a project called Save Titanfall. And it has been going in and trying, getting people saying this game needs to be saved, this game needs to be supported, this game needs to be fixed because A, you're still selling it, and B, there's a lot of us who are still playing it. Please don't ignore it. Please save it.
Yeah.
Respawn, their community managers, have been going on pretty regularly saying, help is coming. We're working on it. We are fixing the vulnerabilities. We are fixing the bugs. Help is on the way. And they've been saying this for months. Well, it's been going on so long that now Save Titanfall community has been going on to Apex Legends, been hacking into it and putting banners in the hub of games, Titanfall games, and then making it so players couldn't queue up saying, hey, this is what it's like to play Titanfall. Of course, these are being seen as attacks on Apex Legends by Respawn. But it's bad. That's bad that's happening. That would have been a story. I could have left it there. But this week, it got so much worse. Respawn has acknowledged many times over the past, like April, May, all the way up until June, that there were many times that they were fixing the DDoS vulnerabilities and stopping the attacks on Twitter. They had community managers that were saying, help is on the way, it's coming, blah, blah, blah. I mean, here's a tweet. The team, Ryan K. Rigney, who's a community manager, says the team has never stopped working on the DDoS solutions, and anti-cheat is just a never-ending war of whack-a-mole. On the DDoS front, we will solve this. When we do, I promise you, it won't be because hackers made us aware by ruining a holiday. They achieved nothing of value. It's like, all right, yeah, great, you're working on it. But in reality, news outlet Multiplayer First this week reported that there were actually only 1 or 2 people at Respawn right now working on Titanfall's DDoS attacks. Jason Garza, who's the community coordinator for Respawn, made a video, and in it he said, all I can say is we're working on it, meaning Titanfall, and that's why I stopped talking about things like that. And you guys aren't ... The Titanfall community is not forgotten or abandoned or anything like that. We're still working on it. We just can't telegraph our moves. We only have like 1 or 2 people on it because the rest, everybody else is on Apex. So don't feel bad. It's something we do work on, just that these things take time and you just can't press a button and everything's fixed magically. The revelation that there are only 1 or 2 people at Respawn working on Titanfall has just thrown gasoline onto a conflagration of anger.
So when you're dealing with numbers that small, how is it 1 or 2? How are
It's
you
either one-
confused about this?
Right. It's either 1 or it's 2. It's not both. I mean, what? They like 1.5? Like one guy is full-time and one guy's part-time?
Yeah, it's like, okay,
Two
oh,
part-timers? What are we talking about?
You're done with your Apex Legends code, then go work on Titanfall.
Right. Right.
Forgot, little tangent. Forgot your life. The reason the game sold so poorly was not due to quality, because I think anyone who's played Titanfall, a lot of people said that the campaign was the best single, like, first-person shooter they've
Titanfall
ever
2.
played.
Especially, yeah.
But they launched in the middle of Call of Duty releasing and then Battlefield releasing.
Mhm.
Like, they launched in between that, like, a month apart.
They should have named it Independence Day.
So it was just a matter. It's kind of like Battleborn, where like it launched against Overwatch. It was never going to win, and Titanfall was never going to beat Call of Duty or Battlefront or Battlefield. That being said,
it's a fun game, and Nick loves it, and he was trying to get me to play it last week, or no, 2 weeks ago.
Like, if the campaign for Titanfall 2 is still available, like if it doesn't have to like ping a server to play single player, that game is still worth buying and playing for that campaign, because it's a freaking awesome campaign.
That being like I was saying though, but this is just it's owned by EA, and EA is never going to do what the fans want. And the fact of the matter is Apex makes money. Titanfall does not.
Right. And normally I would say, hey, you got this bigger, way more profitable game. Of course, that's where you want to have everybody working on it, because it's also a multiplayer game. It's labor intensive. It's filled with people who will hack the fuck out of it if given the option. So you're constantly having to put people and energy and resources in making sure that game stays up, because it is a cash cow. I would normally say that, but the fact that they've said multiple times that we're working on it, help is coming. Literally, that is a word that were typed into Twitter.
They weren't
to the community. Help is coming. And and the fact that they are continuing to sell that game on Steam, continuing to sell it on Xbox. And it is on Steam. It is broken. And with no warnings that it's pretty much unplayable and that help is coming, even if that is a lie. And they only have 1 or 2 people trying to fix it. It is pretty shitty that they are doing that. It's like, it's not that I blame them for why they're doing it. I'm blaming them for hiding the fact that they're doing it to not only current players, but, like people that are buying the game right now. Either you support a game or you don't.
I also feel like this is one of those situations where, Titanfall, it may not have sold well, but it has like a really, really strong, passionate fan base.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a situation where you kind of want to harness that, or at least respect that. Like, if this were Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront 1, that's like Titanfall 1, that is a multiplayer only game. And if that was suffering the same thing, I'd be like, well,
it was
okay.
Marvel.
It's like, okay, you can understand them trying to push that to the side because, Battlefront 2 came out. With Titanfall, it's like, well, there's still a lot of people playing Titanfall. That's an IP that we might want to do something with later because it's so beloved in this niche community. It is a game like a lot of
Battleborn. Like Battleborn. Battleborn was an IP that never was going to go anywhere, and so they brought it up. You did it as much as they could. They tried to support it what they could, and then they shut it down.
But like, what's interesting about Titanfall is, I feel like as more time goes on, especially because the campaign for Titanfall 2 is so good, it's a game that everyone is like, "Hey, you should go check that out. Hey, you should go check that out." I read this movie blogger, and he always kind of uses I forget the movie, but like John Wick has an example. John Wick came out. It did okay at the box office. It didn't do that well, but it was like, yeah, it was slightly profitable. But then word of mouth sort of starts. People pick it up on video. They pick it up on TBS, HBO. And the word of mouth makes that into a much more popular thing so that when the sequel comes out, it does a lot better. I feel like Titanfall 2 is in that situation where word of mouth about it, people only have good things to say about Titanfall, the game. And so it gets to a point where that snowball has more and more and more, so that if they ever announce a Titanfall 3, there is a groundswell of excitement because you've had, that game has had enough time to find the fan base that it didn't have when it was initially released.
See, the biggest issue is I think that Apex is too monolithic here. Like, as far as their IPs
Except Respawn is not only working on Apex. That is a flat out lie, because they're also making the sequel to the Star Wars game that they did.
No, I know, but if
so
you
they're
look at
working on other stuff.
No, but I think it's much in the same way that happened with Fortnite. Back when Fortnite initially launched, I was playing their soon-to-be free-to-play version. That was a base-building like shooter.
Oh yeah.
And it was kind of fun, but it was
Okay.
kind of a mess.
Just gotta go take care of a cat. Sorry.
Yeah. When they released the Battle Royale Fortnite on the heels of PUBG, they were like, listen, this is just an asset flip. We only have a few people here working on it. They wanted to do something fun, so we greenlit it. Well, we know that story. We know how that happened. And every other thing Epic had in the fire, they kept going for a while. They kept putting out updates for the free-to-play version, or it was in beta, so it wasn't free-to-play yet. They had a MOBA that they were like continuing. They had a lot of first-party titles that they were producing. All of it got ate up by Fortnite. And while I don't think that is as extreme, because Epic was not the size of EA at the time, I do think something similar has happened to Apex. It did really well when it came out. It's still doing pretty damn well. And I think a lot of those resources are getting put into Apex still. And I don't expect to see anything coming out of Respawn other than maybe the Star Wars game, because that was kind of a sleeper hit. I don't think Titanfall is going to get picked back up for a while. And based on the stories, any indication, they don't really care to.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion, I guess.
Yeah. Well, either way, it's a
sad
mess
story,
of it's a sad story, and it's a mess of Respawn's own making and making it and then making it worse.
Yeah.
By the way that they handled this situation. So yeah. So what's your next item?
I got something. We're both
Sorry.
trying to do it now.
I'll leave.
No, you're fine. So Tencent, our favorite monolithic game developer, I'm going to use that word again, has done something interesting. It's only in China, but it doesn't affect US or UK or anything like that. But in China, it has added facial scans to make sure children aren't playing after 10 p.m. So,
oh god, Tencent is so
okay. So this is a little deeper than I thought.
God.
In China, they have a division in their government that is designed to fight against gaming addiction, and some of the laws they've put into place is that accounts that are for children, because you have to sign up with your national ID, and that uses your age. If you can no longer play any game, mobile or otherwise, after 10 p.m. Like, you're just not allowed back on. So this is something the government's done to combat gaming addiction.
I hear about the things that Tencent does, and it's not just this, but this is another one added to the pile, and all it makes me want to do is tongue kiss the United States Bill of Rights.
Well,
like, I just want to just hug it and kiss it and make it mine.
Tencent isn't the Chinese government, but they do work closely with them. And this is the Chinese government.
They're not technically on paper the Chinese government, but the fact that, yeah, I mean, if they weren't playing nice with the Chinese government, then they wouldn't exist
So in
anymore.
2019, China
Ask
enacted a
Alibaba.
law that banned minors from playing video games between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. or from playing for more than 90 minutes on a weekday. As of this was back in 2019, so it's been years.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
As of June 1st,
So a
2021
17-year-old can only play 90 minutes a day?
Yes, on like a mobile game. Yeah.
So are people getting around it by like? Is there an underground market for fake
No,
mustaches?
this is saying
that
there's
can
a
get
you
past
have
the
to use
facial
your
recognition?
national ID
Well,
in
there
order to
was
sign
ways
up for an
around it.
account.
You could
Okay.
use your parents' account, for instance. Like there was still a lot of people getting around it, which is why this story is taking place. As of June 1st, 2021, every game in the country is required to add a new authentication system that checks the player's Chinese national identity, including their age, to help block underage players. So that's going to come in like 2000. That happened last month. My bad. But since 2019, it's been on the books as a law that they can't be playing over that. How you check that? I don't know. They came up with ideas.
Wow.
Tencent had already been using Chinese IDs for a couple years now, and amongst other attempts to curb addiction, but the company tells that underage players kept finding ways to get around them, like using their parents' accounts. The so-called Midnight Patrol facial recognition system is an attempt to check that an adult is actually an adult. It launched July 5th in over 60 mobile games, including the hits Honor of Kings and Games for Peace, which is a Chinese patriotic PUBG.
Mm-hmm. It's
The
a PUBG ripoff, is what it is.
Yeah.
Flat out PUBG ripoff.
But like pro China. Yeah.
Right.
The facial recognition system is only in China and for mobile games only. It can't really do it on PC because that's never going to work with PC. It immediately have workarounds. But yeah, so 60 mobile games have launched this facial recognition like software to check for teenagers and underage players.
DJ Phil Collins makes a very good point. How long will it take for folks to realize that they'd rather have teenagers playing video games than literally anything else they could get up to? Yeah. We've talked about my childhood. Trust me, I would have shit bombs in the backyard. Yes, you know that somebody needed to put a mobile game in front of me. A lot of bad things wouldn't have happened if that had been in my case.
Don't get me wrong, I don't want to shit on China or anything like that. There's a lot of stuff you can say about China that is pretty bad. That being said, this tickled my American sensibilities and weird places.
Oh God, yes. As soon as I heard it, that's why I was like, all I want to do is tongue kiss the Bill of Rights. Oh, I'm so happy I live here.
And for as much as like this is only in China, Tencent is a very large company that touches a lot of games that take place in America. And
yes, they do.
That's kind of why it rings.
And they have absolutely no problem sticking that shit in other games and sending them over.
That'll never happen here, and I don't think it would ever happen in the
EU.
Don't say
never.
Well,
dude,
in the EU, they have very...
It was only discovered, after like 5 or 6 years after China was doing it, that all the, the USB ports or the USB cables had, I forget what it was, but something that we all just use had chips in them that were sloughing information, that was reading information that was going through our Ethernet cables.
I'm not saying they won't do shady shit. Also, I'm just saying I don't think they'll introduce facial scan recognition to...
they won't introduce it. Put it this way. They won't introduce it. Doesn't mean it ain't going to show up at the party. It's going to crash.
That is the exact kind of think of the children politicking that I could see someone jumping on board like in an election year. Think of the children. We don't want them playing violent video games.
7 years ago, I would have said, you're right. Yeah. Or no, 7 years ago, I would have argued with you about that. After the last 5 years, I would say I could see that absolutely.
I feel like 10 years ago I would have said that's a possibility. 5 years ago I would have said no, that's not possible. today I say, yeah, that's a possibility.
That's a possibility.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so how it works is apparently if you're playing after midnight, it'll detect if a person is playing after midnight, and in doing so for a long time or spending a certain amount of money in game, it'll tick a box in Tencent's backend and promote the user to verify their identity through facial recognition, either through that database or through a database they've already used. Tencent says that it won't store the new scans itself. Instead, it sounds like it's building on China's already established state facial recognition surveillance system, and any scans Chinese users will have already given Tencent. So basically, you'll give it a scan and then it'll verify later.
So that means when it scans you, it is looking to match you with someone else. It's not just scanning the face and going, does this person look over 18?
No,
it's scanning that
your
face and going,
saying, is it you know,
This
does
person.
this
Billy,
match?
is this Billy's mom or is it Billy?
Yeah.
Because they have Billy's mom's picture on file.
Is this Billy's dad? Oh, Billy's dad has been playing for 48 hours straight. How's that possible?
Exactly. And
Because like you could have dad playing and then son and then dad.
yeah, it tickled my sensibilities in the fact that Tencent owns most or almost most of Epic, a large stake, owns part of Riot, it's owning part of Warframe. I don't know if that ever went through. It is everywhere.
Yeah,
And
they've
the
been
kind of
producing
shit they would
movies
do.
too. I've seen the logo on a couple movies. It's like
Monster Hunter.
Oh, I the newest Terminator. I went and saw that. I was like, wait, Tencent? What the hell?
Yeah, so keep that in mind, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my story though. Fun stuff.
Okay. Well, let's if we're gonna be dunking on things, let's keep on the Asian dunking.
Oh, good segue. Solid.
Oh man!
Solid
All right,
segue.
I am stepping back.
Edie's taking that break.
Go ahead, Nick.
This is about Japan and a talent company in Japan having some real issues with the internet. So the Sega series Judgment sequel is coming out soon called Lost Judgment.
Mm-hmm.
There's a possibility that might be the last one in the series because Judgment, for its main character, they use the likeness of a famous Japanese actor who's represented by a talent company called it's a
Tencent.
Weird name. No, it's not Tencent. Oh, fuck, what is it? What was the? It's like. Oh, Johnny? Is that it? Yeah, I think it is. Okay. Yeah, Johnny is the name of the Johnny and Associates is the name of the talent agency.
Someone was like, "Man, I really want to make a talent agency. What should I name it? Fucking me." Yeah.
Yeah, right. So the thing is, Johnny's is adamant that there not be a PC port of Lost Judgment. And Sega is adamant that no, a PC port is very important for our bottom line. And a lot of this stems from the fact that Johnny's is super, super controlling over, the likeness of this person that it represents.
Actor,
and
right.
They're afraid of basically mods. And so they're taking this very, very hardline stance of,
oh, that makes sense.
We don't want to be able to do this because apparently Judgment came out on Stadia. So it's not that they have an issue with the PC as a platform.
They have the issue with the possibility of somebody modding it so that they can put somebody's person's face on something else.
They have the issue of someone being able to get into the code
and then make them naked.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Keanu.
Which is I get it, but it's also it's very backwards thinking because that's there are all ways around that still. So it's unfortunate. I've not played Judgment. I've heard it's good though, and yeah, kind of sucks that the sequel might be the last of it.
I did forget something. If you're cool with me going to the next one.
Yeah.
Okay, this is mainly for you, Edie. and I guess Mick too. So yesterday, we had TennoCon, which is Warframe's annual like con. They've been doing it digitally last year and this year. They always do it digitally, but they didn't have an in-person one. And they released they showcased a bunch of new content coming out called the New War. And it looks interesting, and you have to be into Warframe to know what's
You
going
have
on.
to be into Warframe to make that banner.
No.
Warframe.
Everything else. By the way, I want to say the DRM observe people. These are our normal banners. All right, these are our normal banners, right?
Listen, I have to bring the energy for AC Wraith here.
Where's
okay?
the other banner? I can't find it.
He is our silent podcaster with us at all times.
There it is. There's
I know.
there's the banner for Warframe news.
I
No,
know
it's
AC Wraith wants the hype.
Warframe news.
Damn it. You're
Warframe.
right. Warframe. It's,
Warframe.
Wario made that banner. Anyways, Warframe news. They announced that they are doing not only a mobile port, but they are now doing cross-platform and cross-save. So now you'll finally be able to move over to PC if you're on PlayStation or vice versa.
Yay!
And
Or
you'll
in
be
this
able to
case-
play with each other.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's seamless.
That's cool.
Nice. All right. That makes me a little bit closer to playing. Actually, you know what now?
Now you get to play with AC.
Now this is I was saving Warframe
Yes.
for a
AC 's
time
great.
when I would need it, for a time that I would need a social game that I would get together with friends and I would play and it would like eat my life.
It's not yet.
Andrew, this
not-
is the week. This is the week. And
yeah,
on
but
top of it,
it's
I
not
can
out
get
yet.
AC Wraith. Oh, when does the cross-platform happen?
I'm hoping later this year. Maybe it'll drop with the
I
new
think
war, which is
I think I saw an announcement that said it was later this year, but it's just
Okay.
later.
But I
this
can
year.
start back up and then I will be playing with AC Wraith. I did not know. I thought I was just being coy, that I was teasing you that I was going to go for Warframe. I did not know that it could possibly be my salvation for the next year. So
you can
Andrew,
lose a long time in it.
AC Wraith, this is the game I am going to beat my grief with.
I do
So,
kind of want to take
thank
my
you.
account on PS4 and play it on PC. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'll have to re-download it now and at least just boot it back up to see what the hell has happened.
A lot.
It is incredibly confusing now. It's obviously a game
Oh.
for people that know what they're doing or have
Okay.
somebody that's a Sherpa that can take you through it.
Sherpa. You need a Sherpa.
Yeah.
And it's all about finding that initial thing that's fun. Like finding that weapon that tickles your brain and you're like, oh god, I want to make this more powerful. Or that Warframe that's like, this is me. Because the more you get into it, the easier it is to transition to something that maybe isn't quite as fun. But it's still fun, but it's just not as cool as that first one. But you play that first one for 1,000 hours, so time to move on to a new one.
That did remind me of a game I forgot to talk about. It was something called Snow Runner, and it's a neat kind of truck simulator, not Euro Truck Simulator, but like disaster truck simulator where you're going off road and you gotta mud tires. Oh, don't get stuck in the mud, don't get stuck in the water. But my issue with it is you get a lot of missions, and it's like, oh, hey, you need a crane for this mission. Like, oh, well, shit, what'd I get a crane? I don't know, figure it out. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm driving and all of a sudden I'm stuck in the mud. It's like, oh, shit, I can't get out of here. Well, how do I switch trucks? I don't know. How do I get my truck out of the mud? I don't know. How do I get a new truck? I don't know. And it's a lot of, at a certain point when I'm Googling tutorial stuff, it's like, okay, maybe I just shouldn't play this.
It's worth it though. There are so many mechanics that it would be very hard to make a comprehensive tutorial. And
Mhm.
even if they did, they do have a tutorial that teaches you the base movement.
Yeah. Have
and,
you played it?
What?
Snow Runner?
No, I was talking about Warframe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I haven't played SnowRunner.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'll trust Warframe to teach me, and then if not, maybe I've got, you and AC Wraith and other people to give those lessons.
Yeah, no, I get you. But yeah, that's my Warframe news. There was a bunch of like content release of like the new war, and there's a whole thing that's really cool to me. But like again, if you haven't played Warframe, you don't understand kind of how unique or cool it is. However, one of the villains in it, and this like little thing, he always just like he opens with looking at little children saying he's long limbed and he looks like an alien. He's like, "Don't be afraid." And it kind of ends with him at the end. So during the TennoCon, they were showing these segments where you could play as one of the enemy faction units called a Grineer, and they eventually showed like the other faction, the Corpus, but no one gave a shit about that dude. They cared about the Grineer version. His name was Call 175, and the chat went nuts from. He's like, he's a savior. Yes, we love him. And he's going to go kill himself to try to take out the ship by holding a bomb. And everyone's like, no, not our precious Call. Like, they immediately attach to him, and they now love him.
Okay.
And he plays through the whole opening, and he gets to the end, and he's about to set off the bomb. And he's been saying for the queens, because they're kind of mind-controlled. They're kind of, not mind-controlled, but, like, brainwashed. And at the end, he's like, for my brothers, instead of the queen. It's just like, fuck the queens. For my bros. And it doesn't go off. It fades to black, but then it fades back in, having not gone off. And this big, long-legged alien walks up and says, "Don't be afraid." And it's like, holy fuck. I am very afraid right now.
Okay, I'm kind of intrigued by all that.
Good stuff. They apparently like the longest quest they've ever done. They had like over 100 pages of script for it.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is the biggest like step narratively that they're taking, and it's huge.
Cool.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
But that's my Warframe news or Warframe news.
Yeah. Get it right. Okay, I have an interesting one. So, in what feels like a real desperate move, Google has announced a new revenue sharing model for the Stadia Pro subscription. So,
What's
coming right off
10%
the
of
heels
nothing?
of scanning your entire studio.
You know, if you have, considering how much Stadia has cost to make, and considering how much Stadia is making back, does that mean if you're in their profit sharing program that you have to give them money?
oh,
Hey,
ow.
you want to keep Stadia
They're
alive,
actually going to dock your
yes.
pay if you work on Stadia.
So, the way it works
Bill's
is
got to get paid.
like Xbox and PlayStation, if you're subscribed to Stadia Pro, you get a couple games a month for free. So now, Jesus, cat, come on. Now Google will track what those games are played, and based on how often they get played, depending like day sessions, people will get some revenue. So basically, all of the money. Wait, I need to find it. I completely lost the tab and lost my train of thought because of Shepard. Okay.
Fucking cat.
So 70% of all of the revenue generated from the Pro subscriptions. So that means Google just keeps 30% of all the subscription cost.
Okay.
70% of that is going to be split between basically all of the games that people play as part of that service. So depending...
Okay.
So, we subscribe to PSN and all that.
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation only takes 30%. And then the rest of it is basically handed out to games based on how long people play them. So that's what's going to happen with Stadia. So if I get Destiny 2 as part of the Stadia Pro, and like you play Tomb Raider, then both of those companies will get a slice of that 70% revenue generated from the subscription costs. But it's only doled out based on how long someone has played or how many sessions in a day someone has played. So if no one plays your game, even though it was part of Stadia Pro, you're not going to get any part of that revenue.
Right.
But it is interesting that, the subscription revenue is going to the developers themselves.
Which is neat, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know if they do that just because they're kind of at a point where they've given up. They're like, we're going to give back.
Yes, that's why I say it's a desperate move. I don't think they would be doing this if they were actually making a lot of money. It's just a kind of desperate move to attract developers.
To attract
Stadia.
developers to it and try to get the developers to start promoting Stadia as the preferred way to start playing it, because they'll be making more money if somebody downloads a game on Stadia versus buying it on PlayStation.
Yeah.
I don't know. Stadia's dead at this point.
Stadia's dead. This is the death throes of Stadia.
All right.
This is, like the twitching just before the last breath on that one. So anything, next item.
The Department of Justice is investigating the Overwatch League.
Yes.
And apparently it's not a criminal investigation, but it's due to antitrust inquiry. And part of the reason is a soft salary cap that Blizzard has put on all of the teams. So the way it works is each team
Sorry,
has...
missing a puppy. Stand by.
Okay. Each team basically has a budget of $1.6 million that they can spend. And they can spend that acquiring new talent. And each team has that same budget. The teams are not prohibited from spending more than 1.6 million on player salaries, but if they spend over that amount, they basically get taxed by Blizzard an extra $1. So they have a cap of 1.6 million to spend on player salaries. If a team spends over that, Blizzard then basically taxes them dollar for dollar. So if you spend 1.7 million,
then you have spent $100,000 in taxes to Ubisoft, or
to Blizzard.
Blizzard.
$1 million. If you go $1 million over that cap,
oh, okay,
Blizzard,
okay, right.
Blizzard charges you
1.7, and it's a 1.6. That would be $100,000.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, they would. And so, the Department of Justice is basically investigating that has a anti-competitive practice.
Yeah.
I mean, I get there being a cap, not wanting for one super rich dude to come in and be like, I'm gonna pay to win.
Yeah,
and buy the best talent.
Like a lot of
they're okay with pay
to
win when it's players. Why are they not okay with pay to win when it's actually team owners?
I mean, yeah, the NFL is okay with pay to win, right?
But
they have salary caps.
The issue with me is that it's not just saying, hey, don't do this. It's saying, hey, you can do this, but you just have to toss us a little on the side.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that, there's salary caps in all professional sports for exactly that reason, is you don't want somebody to come in with so much more money and buy all the good players, and then there's no competition.
Yeah, the game sucks.
So you absolutely have a salary cap on all, but there's also no kickback option that I'm aware of within NBA, NFL, MLB, any of the other ones.
What's that saying where it's if you're rich, fines are just extra expenses?
Yeah,
or
cost of doing business.
Yeah, if you have the money, that's not saying you can't. It's just saying you have to pay a little more, but you have the money, so who cares?
Absolutely. There are people I know that don't consider parking tickets a problem. They call it parking. Yeah. They just park in a red zone and they just pay the ticket because it's not that expensive. It's not a big deal.
Really?
Yeah, $150.
But isn't there a license thing that happens from that, or is that not a speeding ticket?
Parking tickets? No.
Yeah. Okay, it's not like a speeding ticket.
Speeding tickets, yes.
Gotcha.
But also, what's with the license? Speeding tickets.
Well,
eventually it gets points on your record, right? What happens there? Your insurance costs go up. If you've got the money to pay the insurance costs.
Oh, Jesus. I'd love. My insurance is going to increase
Yeah,
I mean, if you make-
100%, whatever.
a lot of
200
money.
grand a year.
Money
like,
makes life easier for you. Trust me.
Damn.
But I could
Money
see why
can't
they're
buy
looking to-
happiness, but it certainly lack of money can buy a lot of sadness.
It can't buy happiness, but it can buy comfort.
Yes, it can.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Cap makes sense, I guess, but yeah, don't ask for kickbacks.
So there we go. Yeah. DJ Phil Collins says baseball works pretty much like this, just at a lower percentage than 100. And Pist says there is a luxury tax in professional sports. So it may be, this would be very interesting if they didn't pattern this, or what's the difference between these luxury taxes on regular sports versus what Blizzard did with Overwatch.
I mean, it might just be the amount of like doing it 100% is
usury.
too much. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That might be a thing. Or it'd be interesting. And if it's not, it'll be if other sports do this, then there's an interesting can of worms that is getting open that has way bigger tentacles out into other kinds of sports that have these luxury taxes.
Mhm.
I'm going to research into this. I am interested to know now, for the first time in my life, what the details are of the NFL salary cap.
A little bit
Up
of a
until
callback,
5
but
minutes ago, could have cared less.
would you like to know more?
I would, and I will.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back next week.
Starship Troopers.
Oh, sorry. Forgot about that.
No, was it? Is that? Would you like to know more?
Yeah.
What was the thing they always said in that?
I love the little ad breaks, the little propaganda pieces in that movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Do your part. Little Jimmy's doing his. I'm gonna kill some bugs.
So
Actual scene from the movie.
I know, and that's what's so funny, and you do it so well in all the parts.
Nick hates the bugs.
Yeah, fuck the bugs.
Was it Santa Fe? Whatever like area they threw a rock at it.
Yeah, it was something in South America. I know that.
That is a base. That comment was for the baseball fans. DJ Collins says, "Would you like to learn more? Why the Yankees? Just why? or would you like to learn why the Yankees? Just why? Yes, I agree.
Money.
Look, assholes got to go somewhere. Assholes have to have some team to root for.
All right. So moving on a bit. Yes. If you were a fan of Death Stranding will be releasing a director's cut soon. I don't have the exact. September 24th. And the director's cut will come with new story missions, more battles with the advanced combat mechanics, which I'm assuming is a thing. I've never played Death Stranding.
Combat mechanics.
Any improved pee and poo mechanics?
Basically, when later in the game you unlock like more advanced like fighting, like actual mechanics.
I thought you were about to say more advanced pee and poo. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You'll be able to poop outside now, not just in the toilet. Fertilize that land.
And you get to see little like flowers bloom.
Yeah,
right, where
little mushroom pops up.
Yeah, wouldn't we already get the mushroom pops up when you pee?
That's true.
So what would pop up if you poop?
One of the black sludgy things. I don't know.
I can do that.
Maybe like a little tree, a little
a
brown
tree. Right, little tree.
They'll add a Metal Gear Solid style firing range, a cargo catapult for delivering less fragile goods, a robot
cargo catapult.
Back up. What was that?
Oh, I don't know, Nick. You might have to go back in and play it for that.
Less fragile goods.
Okay, that actually sounds really fun.
Yeah, it does. Especially if you can get on the catapult.
Oh yes.
Just launch yourself.
A robot buddy who seemingly can carry you around, and for some reason a racetrack. You get a good sense of all the chain. There's a trailer for it, and you get to see a lot of this in it.
I'm down for all of those.
It'll retail at $50, which is cheaper than the standalone game, like when it first launched,
Mhm.
and it's going to be $20 cheaper than the Ghost of Tsushima director's cut, which we still don't know a lot about.
Hmm.
But yeah, if you're
But
interested,
how much is it if you already have it?
how
much is the upgrade?
that I think you just have to buy the new game.
Uh,
I don't know if you'll be able to just upgrade it.
I mean, that all sounds neat, but I played the hell out of that game.
Okay, fair enough. If you
going
haven't,
back.
though, it seems like a good time to jump in and try it if you're
Yes.
into it.
And that was announced as part of PlayStation's State of Play event that they had, which honestly, if this was supposed to like be their thing after E3, it makes sense why they weren't at E3 because they really didn't announce a whole lot of big things. They had another trailer for Deathloop. They announced the Death Stranding director's cut. The game I'm most interested in, Sifu, the martial arts game, was delayed to early 2022.
That upsets me so much because the game looks so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, so much fun.
And then they just kind of announced a bunch of smaller games. Moss, a sequel to a PSVR game called Moss, is coming out, which is neat. Something called Arcade Geddon was announced, which I don't think anyone should have a lot of hope for because it's from the developers of Predator Hunting Grounds and Friday the 13th, which were both kind of poorly received games.
Those guys do not have a good track record at all.
Yeah, there's a melee-focused battle royale game called Hunter's Arena, which, sure, that sounds neat. A Metroidvania game, probably after Sifu, the most interesting thing is a game called Fist, Forged in Shadow Torch, which is basically a kind of a cool-looking Metroidvania game. And then a Demon Slayer game. But in slightly related news, I guess the Demon Slayer animation studio got shut down for tax evasion or something like that.
No, they did get charged with tax evasion, but they did fine.
Oh, okay. They just paid it off.
Yeah, no one got arrested for my understanding.
Well, it all depends on how much they evaded and did they pay it off. You can get arrested for tax evasion for, $20,000, and if you're a multi-corporation, you're like, "Oops, sorry, pay the $20,000 and move on."
Yeah.
He has to pay back 139 million yen. The founder of Ufotable, which is the studio that does Fate series and Demon Slayer.
Okay.
Yen to USD.
Ufotable is like
139
it owns right for the animation of Fate Stay series, and that is one of the most popular series in Japan.
So 139 million yen is
because I know Demon Slayer is super popular.
It is for viewership. And how much was it, Edie?
1.2 million.
That's quite a bit of money.
That's a lot.
Depends on how much she's worth. Remember, parking tickets, speeding tickets. It all depends on how much money you can spend, not how much money it is.
Yeah.
So Demon Slayer has a very popular or very large audience, viewer count, but the Fate series has the most merchandise spin-offs.
It's the Star Wars.
It's the most profitable. Because they have a gacha game that does super well. They have a dozen spin-off series. Have
you seen any of those series? There's a couple on Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the first couple episodes of one of them, and it the animation is really good. It's really well produced, but I didn't really get into it long term. Oh God, I don't know how much generate you guys want me to know as. In the Fate series. And Apocrypha, which is one of the ones that are on Netflix, there's a character called Astolfo. And it's this guy who looks very girly with pink hair and is kind of dainty. He's one of the summoned people. He is the target or center of a lot of degeneracy online for being very femboy.
Okay.
And
I can totally see that.
It is everywhere, and it is bad. Good stuff. Yes. This
Okay,
is what
yeah.
it's what it means to be locked into internet culture. You get to
Yeah.
learn things you don't want to know.
I had a story about how old consoles were just as hard to find as new consoles, but that came out like a week or so ago, and I just checked Amazon, and a PS Pro is like only on sale for $1,000, but you can get a PS4 Slim at the same price, and you can get an Xbox One at the same price. So I wonder if that was just like a momentary blip of stock running out. Because it seems like Xbox Ones and PS4s are still, you can buy them at MSRP. So,
So
story's
I
not a
don't know. I don't know all the details about this, but did you hear about the Ukraine bust of the cryptocurrency thing? The cryptocurrency
I hear
mining.
they're
Oh, is that
cracking
what they
down.
would? They had racks of PS4s.
Right, because turns out they were not mining cryptocurrency. Here's the story: is that Ukraine officials noticed a bunch of electricity kind of missing, like lots of it disappearing, and they hunted down where all the electricity was going, and found 5,000 computers and another. No, was it 5,000? I think it was 5,000 computers. And another like 4,000 or 5,000 PS4 Slims. And what it was, they originally thought it was cryptocurrency mining. It wasn't. They were mining FIFA. All the computers were running PlayStations in FIFA, and then they would create these accounts that had tons and tons and tons of money and tons and tons and tons of cards, and then they would sell the FIFA accounts.
All right, I'm just gonna say it.
They're not
Listen,
mining cryptocurrency. They're mining FIFA.
They're
honestly,
mining FIFA.
like I don't give a shit that they're doing that.
Jesus.
My biggest issue with the story is if your game, like as a side effect of the game design, could allow a side market like this to develop and be profitable.
Right.
Go fuck your game. You are bending people
Yes.
over.
I wish I had all the documentation, or I wish I had the pictures. I probably could find the pictures, but yeah, I'm sure or Nick will probably find the pictures. Someone on the chat room will find the pictures.
AC Wraith had a link. Let me.
Okay. Yeah, the underground cryptocurrency mine. Yeah. 3,800 PlayStations and 5,000 computers. Oh, I nailed it. I said 4,000 PlayStations.
See, like, I don't know. Again, I don't blame them for doing it. This is just a market, a hustle that appears because your game allows, your game is so exploitative of their consumer that
Wait,
it allows for this to be
Don't
profitable.
switch to my screen.
I can see what's on your screen. It ain't it. They want you to whitelist it for.
Yeah, I can turn it off for a second. So let me.
Yeah, it's essentially a gigantic warehouse.
Okay, yeah.
There we go. A gigantic warehouse, and that's only part of it. Just racks and racks and racks and racks of PlayStations and computers.
Good old FIFA.
Yeah.
I definitely want to start playing FIFA now.
Oh yeah, this makes me just want to like hop in and kick some balls.
Oh, since we're on the topic, I was kind of trying to look up the details about this. So I really wish I could find the details. I'm sure AC Wraith will find it. So EA made an announcement about this thing that they're calling, what is it? Let's see. It's called dual entitlement. Is that what it is? Yeah, dual entitlement for both FIFA and Madden. Dual entitlement is this thing you get, like Xbox made a big thing that we want you to, if you put out a game, that can be upgraded. And I forgot the actual term, the program they called it, to upgrade to a Series X. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It had a name, that actual program.
I forget what it was, but yeah, it was like, hey, if you buy it on PS4, you can get the PS5 upgrade for free.
Right. And Xbox made a big thing early on that we want your games, if you're putting them on Xbox, we want them to be, if you're selling them now and it's a new game, we want it to have this program. Smart delivery. Thank you very much, Pissed. Yes, smart delivery. And there was a smart delivery program, and they were really pressing for developers to enable smart delivery. Hey, bitters. And EA said, not for FIFA and Madden, thanks. And there was why, is because they had their own program called Dual Entitlement, which looks and smells very much like smart delivery, except for some important factors. They have a time limit for you to be able to upgrade your Madden 2021 and your FIFA 2021. And if you didn't upgrade it by that date, and I want to say it was March of this year, then you lost your dual entitlement. Of course, you and I both know, just because you want a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X doesn't mean you're going to get one. Unless, of course, you've got money, because money is no object, because they're almost impossible to find. Well, that was the first kick in the balls for Madden and FIFA players. The other one came out, I want to say it was this week in a press release, that dual entitlement for future games, including 22 and currently now 21 for FIFA at least, and I believe also for Madden, I could be wrong on that, but certainly for FIFA, will only be available to players who purchase the Ultimate Edition of FIFA. So if you buy the $60 version, you got to buy a second version for the new console if you get the new console. If you're not, otherwise you got to buy the $100 edition.
It's just so fucking scummy.
They're not even trying right now.
No,
they're seriously not even trying.
Like, who the fuck you gonna go to? Huh? Take-Two? They don't have a game.
Yeah.
No. Yes. This is what happens when you've got a monopoly on the market.
Yeah,
and a serious gaming addiction. But they created a game to create a serious gaming addiction in a vacuum. They've licensed all of these things so nobody else can license them for another game. It is an ATM and a life.
It's when you have one game that's like 60% of your profits from your gaming division from the microtransactions of one of your games. Just go eat shit, guy. Like,
yeah,
I hate you.
And then to turn around and say, in order for you to go, they should be giving away FIFA for free because they make so much money on the actual microtransactions. Yeah. But to turn around and say, oh, we need that extra $40 if you want to upgrade to the next console. That's just way to nickel and dime
even more.
Yeah.
I'm honestly surprised, and I wonder if there's a legal reason for it, that they haven't made an Ultimate Team thing for Madden. Like, they've got it for FIFA, and for FIFA, it's this whole big thing, but I wonder why they haven't done something similar for Madden.
Probably has to do with have they?
Football is nowhere near as popular as FIFA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Soccer is just huge. Like, it is the most popular sport in the world.
So that's really all it is they tried to mimic it, but it's like, the rest of the world doesn't care about football.
Kind of, yeah.
Well, I just found this.
Yeah, I mean,
Madden Ultimate Team. That's exactly. They do have it.
Yes.
Okay.
They do, but again, the difference is just
it's not. Yeah, it doesn't even remotely hold a candle to the amount of money or players that are interested in it.
Like, the U.S. cares about football, maybe some of Canada, but like most of the EU and like Eastern countries don't. From us, from us.
Yep. Yeah, Pist says, "Wow, that's $100. At least others at least offer $70 cross-gen." Yeah.
No, it's a scam. It's all a scam. Like, that's pretty clear.
There we go. There's the dual entitlement disclaimer. Thank you. I knew you could find it.
I do want to jump back real quick to the Ufotable story because I went and found more details. Just because if anyone's curious about anime, it's not games related.
Okay.
Mostly. Apparently, the founder and like CEO of Ufotable, concealed about 446 million yen, roughly $4.1 million, over the course of about 4 years, 2015, 17, and 18.
Mm-hmm.
And that, apparently, allegedly made him evade about $1 million in taxes and corporate taxes, and about $300,000 in consumption taxes. Apparently, according to them, it's all paid back. He had put it into the company, by the way. He hadn't used it for personal use. He just more to you.
Okay, that's a little better. That's a little better.
And they apparently paid it back right away. They're all caught up and they're complying with all laws and
So he got a 1
regulations.
point. How much did he not pay taxes on? $1.3 million.
Roughly. Yeah.
So he just donated a $1.3 million loan from the government to put into his business.
Yeah.
Again, DJ Phil Collins says, watch, they'll kick a door down somewhere in Texas and there'll be 4,000 Super Nintendos grinding Madden 93.
That would be awesome.
What's great is that would more than likely happen in Texas with the heat wave and power issues they were having. So yeah.
Yeah.
Who's
That's
using all
awesome.
of this electricity?
I almost want to Photoshop something so that like a fake headline for that. Photoshop a fake picture and make a fake article and put it on.
That's a good Onion headline.
Oh yeah, it'd be great. Hilarious. No, and it wouldn't be in Texas. It would be in Florida.
Yeah.
I think Texas is a perfect place just because of the energy crisis there. I think that's a perfect place.
Yeah. The energy crisis is really interfering with our Madden 93 grinding.
Yes.
Yep. Yay,
Okay.
my toilet paper shut up. By the way, buy toilet paper now. This is me telling all 8 people right now.
What fucking year is this? Didn't we just go through this?
It's happening again. It hasn't really made the news. It's about to happen. We're having the next wave of the pandemic for mostly the unvaccinated. Get toilet paper now.
I only have 1 roll left, so I definitely should.
Don't never run out of
Get
toilet
us,
paper.
so
No,
do I.
not right now. Not right now, because at this point, unless you're watching those numbers very quickly, like day-to-day numbers, which I do. I watch our local numbers day to day because I do a show for the neighborhood. But if you don't know exactly what's going on in your state and where your infectivity rates are at right now and what that is compared to what the CDC standards are for a wide-ranging infection, which there's actual standards for that. If you don't know how close you are, then just make sure you never run out of toilet paper and you've always got at least a month or 2 supply sitting there. Order your toilet paper now. That is my smart money move. Trust me, we're all going to get shut down again. Some of us sooner than others.
I mean, do it slowly. Only take 1. Try not to rush.
Bitter says Hail Hydra. But yeah, I saw the numbers going up and I'm like, whoop, I'm ordering a case of toilet paper now.
The only reason there was a shortage a year ago is because people panicked and bought it. It wasn't actually a shortage.
No,
with
it wasn't.
Exactly.
I didn't say hoard toilet paper. I said get a month of supply of toilet paper now.
I don't think I ever have a month of supply of toilet paper. That's a lot of toilet paper
You're
for
gonna need it
person.
because once it happens again, when we had the second, remember we had the first wave, all the toilet paper disappeared. We had the second wave, all the toilet paper disappeared. Don't run out of toilet paper when this next wave hits, and you don't know when it's going to hit because it's all going to be different places in the state.
So what I'm hearing is I need to get a year's supply of toilet paper.
No, just get a month supply.
No,
just get
2 years.
I went into Amazon.
Yeah,
I got a 3-pack. I got a 3-pack of the 9 rolls. I'm gonna be fine.
A year of toilet paper and 2 years of tissue, just in case.
No, you don't need to do that because that is hoarding. All you need to do is buy a couple of months worth of toilet paper and just make sure you don't run out. Don't let it get down to my last roll before you buy another pack.
I only got 1 square left.
We're gonna
He says
make that one
get
square
equals horde.
map.
No, get does not equal horde. Just means have enough to get you through and not more. Don't steal it from everybody else. Just get a reasonable amount. Just don't run out. Don't let yourself get down to where this guy is right now. Don't let it get down to one roll of toilet paper and then I'm going to go out and buy more.
I hear quote from Edie, steal it from everyone else.
Yes. ...
steal it from everyone else. ...
Punch the old lady grabbing theirs.
Do not punch any old ladies. Just buy a
They
couple
can't
of
fight back.
Just don't run out right now, because when it hits, it's kind of like the first time when it hits.
Oh, AC Wraith, just rip up some old clothes
to form a
cloth diapers. Yeah.
I do have a lot of cat diapers.
You do have cat diapers. Yeah, I mean they're kind of made out of the same material. They help their industrial strength. Either that, or you have a very small bladder.
I'm just going into cat litter.
That's right. Kick them babies. That's what Bitter says. Kick them.
Yeah.
I think we've officially gone off the rails at this point.
Yes, we have hit that moment. Well, it is 5:30, which has been a very long show.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
All right. So anything else we want before we close out this show, gentlemen?
Nintendo did the thing, but it doesn't matter.
No.
Witcher 3 did a thing. It's not going to matter.
Yeah, we can talk about it next week.
Okay.
We can talk about it next week. We had 2 weeks worth of work of stories, and then you guys had to talk about freaking that
Tomorrow War, which
Tomorrow is good. People should go watch it. It is a fun movie.
It's free if you have Amazon. Go watch it.
It's a fun, cool blockbuster.
AC Wraith with I'll give him the last word. Pinball. Ready to close this out? Yes, we are. Let's close this out.
He did mention Starship Troopers pinball
earlier. I will cut you off. You've been listening to GameHounds. GameHounds episode 602. This says sorry, out of habit of this. It's been 2 weeks. Episode 602. We did record this show on July 18th, 2021. I've been Edie Sellers. With me has been Nick DiNicola and Andrew Smith. If you ever want to get a hold of us, gamehounds.net is our website. Gamehounds@gmail.com is our email. We record this show live every Sunday, mostly every Sunday, at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker. That's speaker with an R, Spreaker.com. You can find us here. We can do it. That's where the audio show is. We also do a video cast. You can join us in the video cast. It's a lot more fun. You lot see more stuff. We've got a pre-show. We've got a post-show that all happens there. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Facebook and Twitch, we are the GameHounds. On YouTube, we are GameHounds Vids, VIDS, as in videos. Please feel free to join us. Thank you to everyone in the chat room. We had Bitters. Of course, we had AC Wraith, who brings all of the links for everything that we talked about, because you are God. Thank you very much for doing that. We had DJ Phil Gullins. We had Blood Reaper. We had Kropotkin. We had Pissed. We had, let's see, I was going to mention Bitter. We had a bunch of other people. Goalie. We had Goalie in the chat room. It has been a really great show. Forget Your Life. Thank you for being here. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all your love and support. Trust me, it makes a difference. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to cross this threshold and find a little bit of normal in the middle of a whole lot of not. Thank you for being here. Love you guys, and keep supporting me and supporting us. Oh, and if you want to support us, actually, with like money, $1 a month is all we ask. We are on Patreon. You don't have to, but if you can, please support us on Patreon. It does pay for all of this, which is why we were a little bit late, because I had to pay the bill to make all that happen. So yeah, thank you, because I spent your money. You've been donating. I spent it today to keep this up today. Thank you to everyone. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye. And we're out, but we're still live on video. All right. I'm really hungry. This is a good thing. You'd be glad to know. I am hungry for the first time so far. Like, my stomach actually growled and says, hey, I want food. I have not been hungry. I've been kind of eating because I know I should, not because I want to. I'm actually going to make myself some dinner.
I'm gonna go buy Raising Cane's.
Good. You're gonna go buy what?
Raising Cane's. Have you never heard of it?
No.
It's a Midwest brand, so I didn't think you so don't worry. It's their shtick is they sell chicken strips, Texas toast, fries, and coleslaw. That's it. They have their own like special cane sauce and then honey mustard sauce. And that's all they sell.
Sounds goddamn delicious.
Oh,
no.
I kind of want chicken with honey mustard now.
No, did I get muted?
Nick, you gotta come up here sometime and
No,
we're gonna go to the pub.
I hear you.
We can hear you.
Wait, yeah.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. We
can
always
hear
heard you.
We always heard you the whole time.
No. You didn't. Okay, so my headset is not connected to my headphones.
Right.
Like my mic, so my bad. Yeah. What did you say?
We could hear you. That's what we said. Nick, you have to come up sometime to the pub. We have a rugby pub, North America's only rugby pub.
Okay, you know what? There was something, I forget what I saw, but I saw some like GIF on Reddit or something of rugby. And part of me was like, I should go searching through like, all the internet channels like Pluto, Roku TV, and try to find a rugby game. Because I thought that'd be fun to watch.
Rugby games are fun to watch.
I have no idea what's going on with the rugby game.
But yeah, you should come up. I mean, they mostly play hoops, but the whole theme, the whole internal theme is rugby. But yeah, you should come up because I discovered that they have wings that, like normally wings are hot wings. I'm not a fan of hot wings. It's not my thing. They're fried chicken wings. They're crispy fried chicken wings. So they're dry, nothing on them. You dip them in ranch. They're godly. They're godly good. So yeah, we got to come up and, like get people together, maybe even throw it open to the community and have a game night or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking out of my ass at this point.
Okay. Like I could totally go up on a Friday or Saturday.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
All right.
Head on up there in the evening. Have dinner at the pub.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Seriously, I needed to get this. I needed to do this today to just move forward. And this was a good move forward. And I needed to move forward with you guys around me, like in my community, my family. I choose. You are my friends. That's what you are.
We're just here to give you a virtual hug.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Next week, I feel so much more normal now, and I'm actually hungry. So my body even knows that I feel normal. Have a great night. We'll talk to you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.